the first whisper of what came before. Have you ever looked at something, a really old tree, or maybe the night sky, and wondered, what was here before this? What happened before everything we know? It's a natural feeling, that pull, to understand origins. For centuries, humans have sought answers to the biggest questions. How did the universe begin? Where did life come from? What was here before us? And here's the thing, often the very first answers we found weren't really endings. They were more like soft whispers, hinting at even deeper, more complex stories that lay hidden, waiting to be asked. Think about ancient people. They didn't have telescopes or microscopes, but they still looked up at the stars and felt that wonder. They told incredible stories, myths about gods creating the world from nothing, or giants shaping mountains. These were their first answers, their attempts to explain what came before. And while those stories helped them understand their world, they also opened up new questions. If a god created the world, who created the god? If the world came from chaos, what was chaos? It's kind of like finding an old, faded photograph of your great-grandparents. You see them, you learn a little about them, and that's cool. But then you start wondering, what were their parents like? Where did they grow up? What was life like for their families, long before this picture was? Even taking that one answer, seeing the photo just leads to a whole family tree of new questions, doesn't it? So, the first whispers of answers about what came before teach us something important. They teach us that every discovery, every explanation, isn't just a finish line. It's often a starting point for a brand new journey of curiosity. It reminds us that the world is full of endless layers of mystery, and that asking good questions is just as important, maybe even more important, than finding simple answers. It's a beautiful way to live, always wondering, always seeking the next whisper. We found the ocean's deepest part. Then what? Have you ever thought about what happens right after a huge discovery? You've searched for ages, then you find it. Like finding the ocean's deepest spot. For a long time, people dreamed of reaching the very bottom. They built special machines, incredibly strong. Brave people went down, further into the darkness. Finally, they found it. The Mariana Trench, deeper than Mount Everest, is tall. Imagine that feeling. It was a massive answer, a huge win for humanity. But here's the thing. Once we found the bottom, did that stop our questions? Not at all. It was like finishing a great book, only to realize it was just the first in a whole series. The answer, where is the deepest part, quickly led to more questions. What strange life exists down there in that immense pressure? How do these creatures survive? What secrets does the ancient mud hold about our planet's past? It's kind of like finishing a big, important test. You feel so relieved when it's over, right? You answered all you could. But then, a day later, your mind wanders. You think, what about that one part I still don't get? Or I wonder how this connects to last year's science. That first answer, finishing the test, suddenly opens new paths. Answers often just highlight what we don't yet know. So, finding the deepest part of the ocean wasn't the end of a grand story. It was just the end of a chapter. It taught us that true wonder isn't just about finding the answer. It's about what that answer makes us ask next. It's about the endless mystery that unfolds, inviting us to keep looking, keep wondering, and keep exploring. Not just the world around us, but the world within our own boundless curiosity. The oldest tree told a story, but not the whole one. Have you ever thought about how much a really old tree has seen? It stands there, steady, year after year. Its rings tell a story of seasons, of growth, of surviving storms. You could look at it and learn so much about time passing. But here's the thing, that tree, as old and wise as it might seem, only tells its own story. It can't tell you about the tiny bird that built a nest in its branches, or the secrets whispered by the children playing beneath it. Those parts of the story are missing from the tree's own rings. This is a bit like how we learn about the world. We read history books, we listen to stories from our grandparents, we see news clips, we gather so many pieces of information, and each piece is true from a certain angle, but every piece is also just one part of a much bigger picture. History, for example, is often told by the people who won, or the people who had the power to write things down. What about the voices of those who weren't in charge? What about the everyday lives of regular people during big events? Their stories are often quieter, harder to find. Think about when two friends have an argument. One friend tells you their side. You hear it, and it makes perfect sense. Then, maybe the other friend tells you their side, and suddenly, the situation looks different. Both friends are telling what they believe is true, but neither person has the whole, complete story. They can only tell what they experienced, what they saw, what they felt. So, when we hear something new, or when we learn something that seems so clear, it's good to remember that there are always other layers. There are other moments, other feelings, other people's views waiting to be considered. Every piece of knowledge is like one branch of that old tree. It's beautiful and important on its own, but the real wisdom comes from understanding that there's a whole forest out there, full of countless other stories, some we might never even know, and that's okay. It just means we should always stay curious, always wonder what else might be there, why we dream, and what that really means. Have you ever woken up from a dream, feeling a strange echo of something real, yet completely made up? Maybe you were flying, or lost, or talking to someone you haven't seen in ages. Here's the thing, dreams aren't just random pictures that flicker across your mind. They are deep, whispered stories our minds tell us when the world gets quiet and we close our eyes. Each dream holds a quiet meaning. For a long, long time, people wondered about these mysterious night visions. Ancient cultures saw them as messages from unseen powers, warnings, or gifts from the gods themselves. They thought dreams could tell you about the future or reveal hidden truths, and in some ways, they weren't wrong about dreams holding deep meaning. Today, we know dreams are mostly how our brains process all the experiences of our waking hours. Think of your mind like a giant, busy library. All day long, new books, new memories, new feelings, new information arrive. When you sleep, your dreams are like the librarians working through the night. They sort the books, put them on the right shelves, and sometimes, they even write new chapters or connect unrelated stories into something new. This quiet work helps us organize our thoughts. So, if you had a tough day at school, your dream might be your brain trying to figure out those feelings, to unpack them and find a place for them. Or if you're excited about something, your dream might explore different possibilities. Dreams are where our worries can play out safely, without real consequences. They are also where our hopes can take flight, and where our imagination runs, truly free. Dreams help us understand ourselves better, without us even consciously trying. It's a quiet, personal way our inner world tries why we dream, and what that really means. Have you ever woken up from a dream, feeling a strange echo of a world that wasn't real? Maybe you were flying, or lost, or talking to someone long gone. Why does our mind do that? Why does it build these elaborate, often confusing, stories while we sleep? It's one of those big questions that has puzzled people for thousands of years. For a long time, many believed dreams were messages. Ancient civilizations often saw them as whispers from gods, or glimpses into the future. They thought if you could just understand the symbols, you'd get an answer. Later, thinkers like Sigmund Freud suggested dreams were secret doors to our hidden desires and fears, a way our deepest thoughts spoke to us in disguise. They said dreams were our mind's way of working through things we couldn't deal with when we were awake. Today, science tells us dreams are tied to our brain sorting through memories and emotions from the day. It's like your brain is a giant computer, and when you sleep, it's running maintenance. It's tidying up files, deleting old ones, and making sense of new information. Think of it like a movie director editing raw footage from the day. Your brain takes all the random clips, what you saw, what you heard, how you felt, and tries to weave them into some kind of narrative, even if it's a weird one. This process helps us learn, solve problems, and even heal emotionally. So, when your mind creates those shadowy landscapes and impossible adventures, it's not just random noise. It's a quiet conversation with yourself. It's your inner world trying to process the outer one, making sense of feelings that might be too big or too messy for daylight. Dreams don't always give us clear answers, but they offer a space to reflect, to wonder, and maybe, just maybe, to understand a little more about the mysterious workings of our own hearts and minds. The puzzle piece fit, but the picture blurred. Have you ever found an answer, but felt more confused than clear? Like you finally put that one missing piece into a puzzle, but then the whole image around it started to wobble and fade. It's when new knowledge makes the bigger picture less clear, not more. People have always looked for answers. They looked at the stars, the earth, and inside themselves. Often, a deep truth wasn't a neat, final answer. Instead, it was like opening a door to an even bigger room, full of new questions. Take early scientists. They figured out the Earth goes around the sun. That was a huge discovery. But then, it led to more questions. How does gravity work? What are the other planets made of? Is there life out there? Each amazing discovery just showed how much more there was to explore. It didn't close the book. It just opened new chapters. Here's the thing. Say your friend seems quiet. You ask, and they say they're worried about a test. Okay, that's an answer. The piece fits, but then you wonder, why so worried? Is it just this test, or something more? Are they struggling? See, one answer, but now you have new questions swirling. Their quietness makes sense, but their whole situation gets blurrier, more complex, and that's okay. It's how we learn. Knowing isn't always about having all the answers. True understanding comes from realizing how much more to ask. Deep truths aren't simple. They lead us on a journey, inviting us to keep looking, wondering. So, when a puzzle piece fits but the picture blurs, it's not a failure. It's an invitation to explore a larger, mysterious world. It's a beautiful kind of knowing, one that embraces questions. We learned how rain falls, so why does it feel different? We know rain. We've studied the water cycle since elementary school, right? Evaporation, condensation, precipitation. Rain is just water falling from clouds. A simple scientific fact. But have you ever noticed how rain isn't always the same, even though it's still just water? Why does a gentle drizzle feel like a quiet comfort sometimes, while a sudden downpour can feel like a heavy, even scary? Wait, here's the thing. Scientifically, rain is just H2O. But for thousands of years, long before we had weather satellites, people felt rain deeply. They didn't just see water. They saw a gift, a sorrow, or a cleansing. Think about an ancient farmer, desperate for harvest, welcoming every drop as life itself. Now, imagine someone caught in a sudden storm, feeling dread. The rain itself didn't change, but the feeling of it did. It's a bit like a song you love. The notes are always the same. The melody doesn't change. But if you listen when you're super happy, it might make you want to dance. Listen to that same song when you're feeling down, and it might make you feel even more emotional, sad, or just thoughtful. The music is just sound waves, but your inner world changes how it hits you. Rain works like that too. We understand the science. Yes, we know the clouds and the water, but rain also falls on our memories, on our moods, on the stories we carry. It splashes against the window of our thoughts. So, while the water itself is always the same, the way it touches our heart and mind can be completely different. It reminds us that knowing how something happens isn't always the same as truly understanding what it means to us. A new star was born, yet its future is a secret. Have you ever started something new, like the first day of a new school year, or a new drawing on a blank page? There's a feeling of excitement, right, but also a little bit of mystery. You don't know exactly how it will all turn out. You have hopes, but the path ahead is still hidden. In the vastness of space, new stars are born all the time. Clouds of gas and dust come together, pulled in by gravity, and then a star ignites. It shines brightly for the first time. It's a moment of incredible birth, a brand new light in the darkness. But here's the thing. Even as a star is born, its future is still a secret. We don't know exactly how long it will live, what planets might orbit it, or how it will eventually fade. For centuries, people have looked at the night sky and wondered about these shining points of light. Ancient thinkers, long before telescopes, imagined that stars were fixed, unchanging, perhaps even guiding our own lives. They believed in destiny, a path already set from the very beginning. This idea, that some things are simply meant to be, has been with us for a very long time, showing our deep curiosity about what's next. Think about a tiny acorn falling from an oak tree. It's a new beginning. We know it has the potential to become a mighty oak, strong and tall, if conditions are right. But we don't know if it will sprout, or if it will face a harsh winter, or if it will be eaten by a squirrel. Its future is hidden like that acorn. A new star is full of potential, but its journey is unwritten. So, when we look at a new star, or when we start something new in our own lives, it's a powerful reminder. We can celebrate the birth, the beginning, the sheer wonder of it all. And we can understand that not knowing everything isn't a bad thing. It's what makes the journey interesting. The secret of the future isn't a burden. It's an invitation to explore, to live, and to discover as we go. It's okay to not have all the answers, especially when something beautiful is just beginning. The old map was clear, but the path changed. Have you ever made a plan, a really good one, only to find the world decided to go another way? Sometimes, we believe we know exactly how things are. We have a clear map in our minds, a solid answer. But then, life happens, new information appears, or the world simply moves, and suddenly, the path we were on isn't there anymore. Or it's changed in ways we never expected. For a long time, people thought the earth was flat. The map of their world was clear. Sail too far, and you'd fall off the edge. That was a firm answer. But then, brave explorers sailed and returned, proving the earth was round. The old map was clear, yes, but the path of understanding, the very shape of the world, changed completely. That old answer, once so solid, simply led to a bigger question about our true place. Think about a time you really believed something, about yourself, or about a friend. Maybe you thought you were terrible at drawing, or that your best friend would always like the same things you do. That was your map. But then, maybe you tried drawing again, learned new ways, and found you loved it. Or your friend discovered new interests, and your shared path had to twist and turn to include these new parts of them. The old map was clear, but the paths of your lives changed, and you had to adapt. It can feel strange, or even a little scary, when our old maps don't fit the new landscape. But here's the thing, it means we're learning. It means the world is bigger, richer, and more complex than we first imagined. Accepting that the path can change, even when the old map was clear, is part of growing. It teaches us to be curious, to stay open, and to draw new maps as we go, always ready for what's next. How the pyramids were built, and why they stand forever. Have you ever really looked at an old stone wall, or an ancient bridge, and just wondered, how is it possible something built so long ago, perhaps thousands of years, can still stand firm, against the wind and rain, against the endless march of time? Imagine the great pyramids of Egypt. They aren't just enormous piles of cut stone. They are silent watchers, monuments that have seen countless sunrises and sunsets, standing tall, while empires rose and fell around them. They make you ask, how did they get there, and what makes them last forever? People often wonder, how did they build something so huge without modern machines? That's a powerful question, and the answer, though simple, holds a deep truth. It was all about human ingenuity, willpower, and amazing coordinated effort. Thousands of people, year after year, moved colossal stones using ramps, sledges, and clever levers. Each block, some weighing many tons, was carefully shaped, pulled into place, and fitted perfectly. It wasn't magic. It was a tremendous testament to what people can achieve when they share a grand vision and work together, literally moving mountains. They weren't just building a tomb for a pharaoh. They were constructing a symbol of eternity, a physical bridge between life and the afterlife. It came from a deep belief that life could endure beyond earthly existence. Here's the thing about why they stand forever. They were built on an idea, a belief in something enduring. Think about building something you truly care about, like a treehouse you want to last for years, or even a strong friendship. You don't just throw things together. You think about the foundation, how sturdy it needs to be, how each part supports the others. You choose strong materials, you plan carefully, and you put in the effort. If you build that treehouse with solid beams and careful joints, or if you build a friendship with honesty and shared moments, it holds up. Its strength isn't just in the materials, but in the care put into its very core. So, the pyramids stand not just because of stone, but because they embody a purpose so deep, a vision so vast, that the builders poured their spirits into every block. They remind us that the things we build with true intention and collective human spirit can indeed stand against the tests of time. They silently whisper tales of ancient dreams, still reaching for the eternal, quietly teaching us about lasting meaning and the incredible power of human connection. The first machine thought, so what will it think next? Have you ever wondered what happens when a machine truly thinks? Not just following orders, but actually figuring things out on its own. For a long time, machines just did what we told them. They added numbers or followed precise steps. But now, some machines can learn. They see patterns in huge amounts of information, much faster than any person could. And based on those patterns, they make predictions or even create new things. This ability to learn and adapt is what we mean by a machine thinking. It's not like our human thoughts, full of feelings or dreams. Instead, it's a powerful kind of logic, finding answers from endless data. People have imagined machines with minds for centuries. Thinkers like Alan Turing, many years ago, asked if machines could ever really imitate human intelligence. He didn't say they would feel emotions, but he explored if they could logically process and respond in ways we might call smart. Now, with powerful computers, we're seeing more and more of his ideas come to life. It's like your phone learning your favorite songs. It doesn't love the music, but it remembers what you played, what you skipped, and what other people with similar tastes liked. Then, it recommends something new that you might enjoy. That's a simple form of a machine thinking about your preferences. So, if a machine can learn from our past choices, what will it learn next? Will it help us solve big problems, or show us new ways to see the world? The quiet hum of these thinking machines makes us wonder about our own minds, too. It makes us pause and consider the future, and what it means to truly understand. Perhaps they will simply be tools, expanding our own abilities, helping us see things we never noticed. Or maybe, their presence will gently shift our ideas about consciousness itself. Why music makes us feel, and where do those feelings come from? Have you ever wondered why a certain song can just grab your heart, making you feel happy, or sad, or even brave? It's not just noise or sounds. Music is like a secret language, one that speaks directly to a very old part of our brains, stirring up feelings we might not even know we have, for thousands of years. People have seen music as something more than entertainment. Ancient cultures believed music was connected to healing, to the spirit world, and even to the very rhythm of the universe. They used it in rituals, for comfort, and to tell stories when words weren't enough. It was seen as a way to express what couldn't be spoken. Think about a tiny baby hearing a soft lullaby. Even before they understand any words, the gentle melody and rhythm can calm them down. Or consider how a fast, driving beat makes you want to move, to dance, or to run faster if you're exercising. Our brains actually release certain chemicals, like dopamine, which make us feel good and alive, especially when we hear music we really like. It's like our bodies are tuned to respond to these patterns of sound. So here's the thing, music often reflects the natural world and our own bodies. A heartbeat has a rhythm, just like a drum. The wind makes sounds, just like a flute. Maybe our feelings come from this deep connection, recognizing ourselves in the melodies and harmonies. Music helps us know we're not alone in feeling certain ways, connecting us to everyone else who has ever felt that same emotion, even across time and different places. It's a beautiful mystery, really. The final chapter closed, but the story kept going. Have you ever finished a really good book, closed the back cover, and then just sat there, still caught in its world? You knew the ending. The main mystery was solved. The hero found their way home. But even with that final answer, your mind kept going. You wondered what happened next. The story, in a way, wasn't over for you. It had just moved from the pages into your thoughts, sparking new questions. This is a bit like how some of life's biggest answers work. They might seem like endings, but they often become new beginnings for our curiosity. Think about ancient philosophers, thousands of years ago. They looked up at the night sky and wondered about the stars. They came up with ideas, answers, about what those bright lights were. Maybe gods, maybe holes in a great blanket. Those answers felt complete for a time. But here's the thing. Those early ideas didn't stop people from looking deeper. Instead, they pushed new questions. Are stars truly just lights? What are they made of? Each answer opened a doorway to more unknowns. It's like when scientists discovered how electricity works. That was a huge answer. It explained so much. But then, that answer led to questions about how to store it, how to send it across long distances, and how to power new inventions. The first answer wasn't the end. It was the start of an even bigger story. So, when we find an answer, especially a deep one, it's not always the end of the line. Often, it's just the closing of one chapter, letting us pause and reflect before we realize a whole new story is unfolding. The world doesn't neatly wrap itself up. Its true beauty lies in the endless unfolding, in the quiet understanding that every answer holds a seed for more questions, and that's okay. It means the adventure of learning never truly stops. One question answered, then 1,000 more woke up. Have you ever found a clear answer to something that really puzzled you, only to feel like suddenly There were even more things you didn't know. It's a strange feeling, like solving one riddle just opened up 100 new ones. This is a big part of learning and growing. When we answer a question, it doesn't always bring everything to a neat close. Often, it just pushes back the edges of our understanding, showing us how much more there is to explore. Think about it this way. For a long time, people wondered what the stars really were. They looked like tiny lights pinned to a dark cloth. Then, answers came. We learned they were distant suns, huge burning balls of gas, far bigger than our Earth. That was a big answer. But did it stop there? No. That answer immediately sparked new, deeper questions. How far away are they? How did they form? What makes them burn? Are there other planets around them? Do those planets have life? The universe didn't shrink when we understood the stars. It just got infinitely bigger in our minds, and our curiosity stretched to its vastness. Here's an example from your own life. Imagine you're trying to figure out how your smartphone works. You learn about the screen, the battery, the camera. Those are answers. But then you start wondering about the tiny chips inside. How do they process information? What about the software? How does it make apps appear? Each answer you find about the phone leads to more questions about circuits, coding, and networks. It's like peeking into a vast, intricate machine. Every solved piece reveals a new layer of complexity. That's the thing about knowledge. It's not a destination, it's a journey. Every answer we discover is like a new path opening up, inviting us to walk further into the unknown. It shows us that wisdom isn't about knowing everything. It's about truly understanding how much there is to still wonder about. It's a quiet, humbling beauty. The horizon of what we can learn keeps moving, keeps expanding, forever. We saw the edge of the known, but what's beyond? Have you ever finished a puzzle, feeling proud, only to realize it was just one piece of a much bigger picture? That's often how it is with answers. We search, we find, we learn, and for a moment, it feels like we know everything there is. We stand right at the edge of what we've figured out, looking back at all our hard work. But then, a new question rises. What's beyond this edge? What's just out of sight, waiting for us? Think about old maps. For a long, long time, people thought the world was flat. Their maps showed all the lands they knew, and then just blank spaces, sometimes with sea monsters drawn on them. They were at the edge of their known world. But then, brave sailors like Ferdinand Magellan pushed past those dragons, past that blank space. They found new lands, new oceans, and with each new discovery, they didn't just find answers. They found even more questions. How big is this ocean? What else is out there, beyond the horizon? Here's the thing. It's not just about exploring the Earth. It's about ideas too. Scientists split an atom, thinking they understood matter. But then, they saw tiny particles inside, even smaller than they imagined. Every time they found a new particle, it opened up a whole new world of physics, a universe within a universe. So, one answer just gave them 1,000 new questions about what matter really is. It's like when you're really good at a video game. You master one level, finding all its secrets. You feel like you've reached the top, but then you finish the game, and you see there's a sequel, or even bigger, online worlds. You realize your perfect play was just the very beginning. The better you get, the more you see how much more there is to explore. So, when we reach the edge of what we know, it's not an end. It's a starting line. It means we've gained enough understanding to see just how much more there is to wonder about. It's beautiful, in a way. This endless path of discovery, where every answer opens a new door to the unknown. And that's why it matters. The questions we ask are sometimes more important than the answers we find. They keep us moving forward, always curious, always seeking what's just beyond the horizon. The universe expanded. So what is it expanding into? Think about this for a moment. If the universe is getting bigger, what is it growing into? It's a question that makes your brain stretch, right? We usually think of things expanding within something else, like a balloon filling up a room, but the universe might not work that way. Here's the thing. Scientists don't believe the universe is expanding into empty space that already exists. Instead, it's more like the space itself is growing. Imagine drawing a few small dots on the surface of a balloon. Now, as you blow up the balloon, those dots all move farther apart from each other. They aren't moving across the balloon's surface to reach empty space. The surface they are on is stretching and carrying them along. Each dot would see every other dot moving away, no matter where it looked. For a very long time, people believed the universe was fixed, unchanging, or maybe it was just a giant, endless box. But then, about 100 years ago, astronomers like Edwin Hubble looked out and saw galaxies rushing away from us. Not just moving, but the very fabric of space between them was stretching. This was a completely new idea. It told us the universe isn't just contained in something, it is the something, and that something is getting bigger. It's a strange thought, this endless stretching without an edge. It means there might not be an outside to the universe, because the universe is everything. It's humbling too. Think about, isn't it, how the biggest ideas often challenge our everyday understanding of what's inside and outside. And sometimes, the most profound answers lead us to even bigger questions about what we don't know, showing us the beauty in mystery. The dinosaur bones spoke, yet their true world stays silent. Have you ever looked at a dinosaur bone in a museum, or seen a picture of a giant skeleton reaching for the sky? It's amazing, right? These ancient bones speak to us across millions of years. They tell us about creatures that walked our earth long, long ago. We learn their sizes, what they ate, and how they might have moved. This is incredible information. It's like finding a message in a bottle from a forgotten time. But here's the thing, while these bones tell us so much, they also highlight how much we don't know. They give us answers, yes, but those answers raise even bigger questions. We know a T-Rex had huge teeth, but what did its roar sound like echoing through a primeval forest? Did a Stegosaurus feel the sun on its back, or did it shiver in the rain? The bones show us the structure, the hard facts, but they can't tell us about the feelings, the sounds, the smells, or the true colors of their ancient world. That part of their story, the living, breathing part, is lost forever in time's deep silence. Don't think about looking at an old, faded photograph of someone from 100 years ago. You can see their face, their clothes, maybe where they were standing, but can you hear their voice? Can you feel their joy or their sadness in that moment? Can you know what dreams they had, or what their daily struggles were like? The photo is a solid answer about what they looked like, but it leaves so many other questions hanging in the air, unanswered and forever mysterious. And that's how it is with the dinosaurs. Their bones are like those photos, solid proof they were here, but the vibrant, roaring, living world they inhabited, filled with soft plants, flowing water, and the breath of giants, that world stays silent. It's a powerful reminder that even with all our knowledge, some mysteries are meant to stay just beyond our grasp, inviting us to wonder rather than to know. It teaches us to respect the silence of time itself, how thoughts form, and why they sometimes vanish. Have you ever felt a new idea spark in your mind, like a sudden light in a quiet room? Where do these thoughts come from? And why do some of them stay, clear and bright, while others just drift away, like smoke on the wind? For thousands of years, people have wondered about this mystery. Ancient thinkers imagined the mind as a vast, unseen space, where ideas might be whispers from spirits, or gifts from the universe itself. Today, we know thoughts are part of our brain's incredible work. They aren't solid things you can touch, but more like patterns of energy, connections lighting up and fading out. Think of it like this: your brain is a giant, bustling library. Every second, new books are arriving, old ones are being shelved, and some are just passing through. A thought forming is like a librarian noticing a new book. Sometimes, it's a book you truly need, so you take it, read it, and it stays with you. Other times, it's just a quick glance at a title that doesn't quite catch your interest, and that's often why thoughts vanish. Our minds are always moving, always processing. There's so much coming in, so many feelings, sights, and sounds. Some thoughts are just fleeting visitors, here for a moment, before they make space for what's next. It's like trying to remember a dream right after you wake up. For a second, it's right there, a vivid story. But then, as you try to hold on to it, the edges blur, and it slips away, leaving just a feeling behind. It's not a flaw that thoughts disappear. It's how our minds stay clear, making room for new insights and feelings. We don't need to hold on to every single thought. Some are meant to be felt and then released. And that quiet coming and going of ideas, like waves on a shore, is a deeply beautiful part of being human. They said the end, but it felt like a beginning. Have you ever finished reading a really good book? Or maybe watched the final credits of a movie and felt something strange? Not sadness, exactly, but a sense that the story wasn't truly over, that the characters were still out there, living their lives, even though the pages had stopped turning, or the screen went dark. Here's the thing. Sometimes, what we call an end is just a turn in the road. It's like the moment a seed is buried in the ground. For the seed, it's the end of its life as a simple seed. But from that ending, a whole new beginning sprouts, a shoot, then a stem, then leaves, reaching for the sun. Ancient thinkers, long ago, talked about how everything in nature moves in circles. The seasons end, but always come back. Day ends, but night brings a new day. They saw that even in death, there's a chance for new life. It's a very old idea, that endings are often just disguised beginnings. Think about it like this. When the final bell rings on the last day of school, that's an end, right? No more classes, no more homework for a while. But that end also opens up the long, open summer. It's a chance for new adventures, new friendships, maybe even discovering something new about yourself. Or perhaps you had a big project, and finishing it felt like a huge relief. That project might be done, but the skills you learned, the lessons you picked up, they stay with you. They become the foundation for your next challenge, your next idea. So, when we face what seems like a finish line, maybe we can look a little closer. What if it's not just a stop, but a fresh start waiting to happen? What if every ending is really just a quiet opening to something beautiful and unknown? It suggests that even when one chapter closes, the story of us keeps going, ever unfolding. And that's a thought that can make even goodbyes feel a little like hellos. We understood the light, but what about the darkness it leaves? Have you ever considered that every bright answer we find might cast a new shadow? When we shine a light on something, we see it clearly, and that's wonderful. But that same light also creates shadows. These aren't just dark shapes on the ground. They are the new questions that pop up, the mysteries revealed by what we thought we just understood. It's like getting a single puzzle piece to fit. It helps, but it also shows you how many more pieces are missing. Think about history. For centuries, people looked up at the stars, wanting to understand how the universe worked. When they finally figured out that Earth orbits the sun, that was a huge answer, a moment of pure light. But then, that new understanding also brought big, new questions. Why do planets stay in orbit? What is gravity? What else is out there? Each solution, each answer, created new mysteries that begged to be explored. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine you've been struggling with a really hard math problem. You work at it, and then suddenly, you find the solution. That feeling of aha is wonderful, right? It feels like everything is clear. But often, solving one tough problem shows you there's an even bigger, more complex one just behind it. Maybe this answer is just one step in a multi-part challenge, or it makes you realize how much more you still need to learn. That's not a bad thing that answers lead to more questions. In fact, it's how we truly grow. The shadows aren't places to fear. They are invitations. They call us to look deeper, to wonder, to keep exploring what we don't yet know. The questions that follow our answers are the quiet whispers of discovery, pulling us forward into the beautiful unknown. The past gave a hint, but the future stays hidden. Have you ever looked back at something and suddenly understood why it happened? Like a puzzle piece finally clicking into place. It's like history. We study the past, learning from ancient civilizations, from big wars, from amazing discoveries. The answers from yesterday seem so clear now. We understand what led to what. We see the causes and effects clearly laid out. And it feels like these answers should tell us everything we need to know for tomorrow. They should give us a map, right? People have always done this. Ancient cultures watched the stars, saw patterns, and tried to guess what the next season would bring. Philosophers debated if history repeats itself. We look at trends, at how societies rose and fell, hoping to avoid mistakes. The past gives us strong clues, even warnings. It shows us what's possible, what's been tried. Think about learning to ride a bike. You fall a few times, right? Each fall teaches you something, maybe about turning too sharply or not pedaling fast enough. Those past falls give you hints. They teach you to balance better for this moment. But they don't tell you if you'll hit a new bump in the road tomorrow, or how you'll react if you need to swerve suddenly. The lessons from falling helped you ride today, but the road ahead is still unwritten. And that's the thing about answers from the past. They light up the path we've walked, showing us where we were. But the path ahead, That part stays in shadow, full of new questions, new turns. We carry the wisdom of what was, but we still step into a future that always keeps its secrets. It's a quiet mystery, always unfolding. What makes us laugh, and what makes it stop? Have you ever truly listened to laughter? It's a strange, wonderful sound, isn't it? A sudden, bright burst, a quiet giggle, or a deep, rumbling joy that feels like it shakes your whole body. But what makes that unique feeling rise up inside us, bubbling to the surface? And what makes it fade away, leaving us quiet and still once more? For centuries, thinkers have wondered about this mystery. Even ancient philosophers like Aristotle pondered why we find things funny, connecting it to human nature itself. Here's what I found. Often, laughter springs from a moment of surprise, a sudden twist, or something completely out of place that, for a fleeting second, makes a strange, new kind of sense. It's almost as if our minds are trying to solve a quick puzzle, and when the pieces click, or nearly click, a wave of laughter breaks free. Imagine your best friend trying to tell a very serious story, building up to an important point, and right at the climax, their pet parrot squawks loudly, perfectly mimicking a car horn. That unexpected sound, breaking the serious mood, can make everyone burst out laughing. It's the sudden shift, the release of tension, the unexpected. Or think about watching a tiny kitten chase its tail with such clumsy determination. It's an image that disarms us, making us smile and then laugh at the pure, innocent absurdity of it all. But then, the laughter stops. Why? The moment passes, the surprise is gone, the joke has been fully absorbed. Sometimes, it halts because a feeling of discomfort or sadness gently pulls us back to reality. Other times, it simply softens and fades, like ripples spreading out across a still pond, leaving us calmer than before. Here's the thing. Laughter is powerful. It's a shared breath, a fleeting connection that ties us together, even for just a few seconds. It reminds us we're human, capable of finding light and joy in the most unexpected corners of the world. And when it quiets, it leaves a gentle echo, a warm memory of the joy we just felt, and a deeper, unspoken question about the complex, beautiful way our emotions rise and fall within us. The echo returned, but who sent the first sound? Think about an echo, that sound bouncing back to you. It's a clear answer, right? The mountain answered your shout. But here's the thing, an echo needs a first sound, a shout, a clap, a single word. What if you heard an echo, but never knew what made that first sound? That feeling, that question, is what we're talking about now. For a long time, people have wondered about beginnings, not just your day, but the very first beginning of everything. Wise thinkers from ancient Greece puzzled over this. They asked, if everything needs a cause, what caused the very first thing? What made the universe start? They imagined something that wasn't caused by anything else, something that began all motion. They called it the first cause. It's a huge puzzle about what came before all else. Imagine a row of dominoes. You push the first one, and it knocks down the rest. A chain reaction happens. But what about that very first domino? What pushed it? Or picture a ripple spreading across a calm pond. The ripple moves outward, but a stone had to drop into the water to start it. The ripple is what you see, but where was the first cause? The stone, the initial drop. This question makes us think about how things connect, how one thing leads to another. It makes you wonder about the true start of things, not just the answers we see, but what made them possible. Sometimes, the most important part isn't the echo itself. It's the silence before the first sound, the mystery of what began it all. It reminds us that some questions are so big, so fundamental, that just asking them opens up a new way of seeing the world. And it's okay not to have all the answers. The beauty is in the wondering. We found the cure, but did we understand the sickness? Have you ever fixed something, only for the same problem to return? It makes you wonder, what if we found a perfect solution, a cure, for a problem, but didn't truly understand what caused it? This isn't just about medicine, though that's a good example. It's about life. For centuries, people tried to cure illnesses. Sometimes, they found something that made a person feel better. A headache gone, a fever cooled. That was a cure for the symptom. But they didn't understand the sickness itself. Just stopped the pain, not knowing why the person got sick. Think about it like this. Imagine you have a really bad cough. The doctor gives you strong cough syrup. It stops your cough. You feel better. You can sleep. So, you found a cure for your cough. But what if that cough was a sign of something bigger, like pneumonia? The syrup helped the symptom, but it didn't fix the real issue. The sickness was still there, quietly getting worse, even as the cure made you feel fine. This idea reaches beyond our health, touching our world, our schools, our own feelings. Sometimes we try to fix a problem in our town, like too much trash. We might just put more trash cans out. That's a cure for messy streets. But if people are still throwing trash because they don't care or don't have enough information, then the sickness of not understanding is still there. The problem will return. It asks us to look deeper, not just to treat the surface, but to gently explore the roots, to wonder what is truly going on. Because only when we understand the sickness can we truly heal. It's about searching for wisdom, not just a quick fix. That search, that curiosity, is a journey worth taking. The story ended happily. So why did it feel incomplete? Have you ever finished a story where everything seemed perfect, yet a quiet feeling of what next still lingered? The hero won, problems solved, happiness found. Still, a quiet unsettlement remained, as if something was unsaid. Why would a happy ending leave us wanting more? It's a strange puzzle. Here's the thing, even clear answers can open new questions. A happy ending closes one chapter, but life, like a good story, keeps moving. What looks like a final resolution is often just a pause. This feeling isn't a problem, it's how we learn. Our minds constantly search, always wondering. Curiosity pushes us forward. People have pondered this for ages. Ancient thinkers knew one answer, often just showed how much more there was to learn. Wisdom, they understood, wasn't about knowing everything. It was about sensing the vastness of what you didn't know. Every solution becomes a doorway, not a final wall. It's a constant unfolding. Think about solving a complicated riddle. There's relief, but then your mind might jump to how it was designed, or wonder if harder ones exist. Solving one thing sparks curiosity for more. The answer becomes a new question, a launchpad for further thought. It's never truly finished. So, when a happy ending feels incomplete, maybe it's not a flaw. Perhaps it's a reminder that happiness isn't a destination, it's a journey, a quiet flow. That what's next isn't emptiness, it's the hum of curiosity, the knowing that life is always moving, always becoming. It means you're open to wonder, and that's beautiful. One door opened wide, and a maze appeared behind it. Have you ever felt that strange feeling? You find an answer, something clicks into place, and for a moment, everything feels clear. You think, I finally get it. But then, as that door swings open, you see something unexpected on the other side. Not an empty room, but a vast, winding maze, stretching out further than you can see. Here's the thing, often, the biggest answers don't end our search, they begin a new one. Long ago, people looked at the world and tried to make sense of it. They watched the sun rise and set. They saw the stars move across the night sky. They came up with ideas, simple explanations for big, complex things, like thinking the earth was the center of everything, or that illnesses were caused by angry spirits. These were answers that brought a kind of peace. But then, curious minds started to ask, why does the sun move that way? What are those distant lights? And with each new question, the old answers crumbled, making way for even deeper mysteries. It's like when you learn about the human brain for the first time. You discover it controls our thoughts and feelings, and that's an amazing answer. You think, okay, I understand how we work. But then, you start to wonder, how exactly do memories form? Where do dreams come from? What is consciousness, really? Each answer about the brain opens up 100 new pathways in your mind, leading you deeper into the unknown. Two questions you never even considered before. So, that one door opened wide, and yes, a maze appeared. But that maze isn't a trap. It's an invitation. It means there's always more to learn, more to explore, more to understand. It means the journey of discovery never truly ends. And in that endless journey, there is a quiet beauty. It reminds us that being curious, always asking, and allowing ourselves to wander in the beautiful maze of the unknown is perhaps the greatest answer of all. How friendships start, and why they sometimes fade. Have you ever wondered why some people just click, like puzzle pieces fitting perfectly together? Friendships often start in small, quiet ways. Maybe it's a shared laugh over something silly, or a moment when you realize someone truly understands what you're feeling. It could be as simple as having the same favorite game, or sitting next to each other in class every day. You share experiences, big or small, and a connection begins to grow. It's like finding a quiet echo of yourself in another person. For thousands of years, people have thought about these bonds. Ancient Greek thinkers, like Aristotle, talked about different kinds of friendships. Some were for fun, some were practical, and some were deep connections where two people helped each other become better. Humans are built to connect. We seek out others who make us feel safe, seen, and understood. But here's the thing, why do some friendships, once so strong, slowly drift apart? It's rarely one big fight or a dramatic ending. More often, it's like two paths that started side by side, perfectly aligned. Then, quietly, almost without noticing, they begin to curve in different directions. Think of it like this: two favorite songs you used to listen to all the time together. Over time, your tastes change. You discover new music, and they discover theirs. The old song still holds good memories, but you simply don't listen to it as much anymore. This quiet fading isn't a failure, it's just how life moves. People change as they grow. Their interests shift, their needs evolve, and sometimes, distance, both physical and emotional, grows between them. Every friendship, no matter how long or how short, leaves something behind. It teaches you about connection, about shared joy, and about the bittersweet nature of change. And that's a beautiful human truth. The clock chimed, but what is time made of? Have you ever heard a clock chime and wondered, what is that sound really counting? Not just seconds or minutes. We live by time. We set alarms, wait for lunch, count down to summer break. But what is time really? Is it a river flowing endlessly forward, or just a feeling? Think about it. We can't touch time or hold it in our hands. Yet, it feels so real, so powerful. For thousands of years, people have puzzled over this. Ancient thinkers watched the sun and stars, creating ways to measure. They sensed time wasn't just now, but a journey from before to after. Some believed it was a cycle, always repeating. Others, like the great scientist Einstein much later, even suggested time isn't fixed for everyone. He showed us that time can bend, can slow down or speed up, depending on how fast you're moving. It means time isn't just a simple line. Here's the thing. Think about a really boring class. An hour feels like forever, doesn't it? But then, think about playing your favorite video game or talking to your best friend. Hours can fly by in what feels like minutes. The clock might say the same amount of time passed, but our experience of it is totally different. That's because maybe time isn't just about the clock's steady tick. Maybe it's tied to our memories, our feelings, and how much we're paying attention. So when the clock chimes again, maybe it's not just marking a moment passing. Maybe it's inviting us to notice the moment we're in, to feel its weight or its lightness, to wonder at the mystery of something we use every single day but can never truly grasp. Some questions are beautiful because they make us think, not because they have easy answers. We name the colors, but how do we truly see them? We name the colors, like red, blue, and green. We point to a fire truck and say, that's red. But what if the red I see is different from the red you see? What if our minds paint the world with slightly different brushes? Here's the thing. Colors aren't really out there in the world. A red apple isn't truly red by itself. Light hits the apple. The apple soaks up most of the light, but it bounces back the red parts of the light spectrum. Then, that bouncing light enters our eyes. Our eyes have special cells, like tiny light detectors, that send signals to our brains. Our brain then takes those signals and creates the experience of red. This idea that color is something our minds create isn't new. Thinkers centuries ago, even the ancient Greeks, wondered about it. They debated if color was a part of the object itself, or if it was something our minds added. Later, people like Isaac Newton showed how white light splits into all the colors of the rainbow, proving that color is about light, not just the object. So, in a way, we don't just see colors. Our brains are always interpreting light and painting the world for us. Imagine you're listening to music. You might hear the same song as your friend, but the way it makes you feel could be totally different. One person might feel happy, another might feel thoughtful. Colors are a bit like that. We all get the same basic notes of light, but our individual playback systems, our brains, might experience them with subtle differences. Or think about a green leaf. To an insect, that leaf might look completely different, perhaps glowing in a way we can't imagine, because their eyes pick up different light signals than ours. So, when we name a color, we're not just naming something we see, we're naming a shared understanding, a common way our brains interpret the world. It reminds us that our reality, the one we experience, is built not just by what's outside us, but also by what's inside our own minds. And that's pretty amazing. It means we share a common world, but also have our own unique way of experiencing it, one colorful moment at a time. A new species found, yet countless more wait unseen. Have you ever stopped to think about how much we don't know? Imagine finding something completely new, a creature or plant no human has ever seen before. It's a wonderful moment, isn't it? A new discovery can make us feel so smart, so capable. But here's the thing, finding one new species, like a tiny frog in a hidden jungle or a glowing fish from the deep ocean, often tells us more about how much we still don't know. For a long time, people thought they knew most of what was out there on Earth. Explorers would draw maps, and scientists would list all the plants and animals. But then, new continents were found, new oceans were explored, and suddenly, the world seemed much bigger and stranger than anyone had guessed. This showed us that our answers often lead to even bigger questions. It's like looking at a single star in the night sky. You see one bright light, and then you realize there are billions more, stretching further than you can imagine. Think about your own life, maybe your own backyard. You know the trees, the grass, the birds that visit. But what if you looked really, really closely under a rock, or in a tiny patch of moss? You might find a beetle you've never noticed, or a little mushroom that looks like it's from another world. This small find makes you wonder, what else is hiding just out of sight? What else lives there that we simply haven't spotted yet? Scientists still find thousands of new species every year, deep in the Amazon rainforests, or at the bottom of the ocean. Each new plant or animal is an amazing discovery, but it also gently reminds us that for every creature we finally identify, countless others might still be living unseen. They might be too small, too fast, or just too good at hiding in places we haven't reached. This isn't a scary thought, though. It's actually quite beautiful. It reminds us that wonder is always close by, that there's always more to learn and to feel curious about. It teaches us to be humble, to understand that we are part of something vast and mostly mysterious. And that mystery, that quiet secret of the world waiting to be found, is truly something to feel amazed by. It calls us to keep looking, to keep asking. The first word was spoken, but what was the thought before it? Have you ever wondered about that moment, just before you say something out loud? What happens in your mind in that tiny space between knowing and speaking? It's a quiet, often overlooked place. It's where an idea, a feeling, or even a sudden understanding first sparks, before it's shaped into words. Think of it like a whisper of recognition, a soft flash of an image, or a deep knowing that sits just beyond language. For ages, thinkers and poets have wondered about this secret world inside us. They asked if thoughts exist without words, or if words are what create our thoughts. Is there a pure feeling, a raw emotion, before we can even name it? It's like when ancient people first started to communicate. Did they first feel a need for water, then make a sound, and then finally create a word for water? Or did the word itself help them understand the concept better? This goes back to a big question. Does language just describe our world, or does it actually build it inside our heads? Here's an example you might know. Imagine you're trying to explain a really wild dream you had. You can picture it perfectly in your head, the colors, the strange feeling, the sounds. But then, when you try to tell your friend, the words just don't seem to capture it. It's like the dream itself is too big for your language. Or maybe you're working on a puzzle, and suddenly, you just see the solution. That aha moment, that clear picture of how to solve it, often happens before you can even say, "I've got it," or write down the steps. So, that silent space, before the words come out, is pretty amazing. It's where new ideas are born, where our truest feelings might live, untouched by the limits of a dictionary. It reminds us that words are powerful tools, yes, but they're just one way we try to share the vast, wordless universe that lives inside each of us. It makes you wonder what else is happening in that quiet space, waiting to be understood, even if it never finds a voice. Why we remember things, and why we forget others. Why do some moments stay bright in our minds, while others vanish like mist? Our brains are amazing, but they don't simply record everything. Instead, think of our memory like a quiet editor, constantly deciding which stories truly matter most. Long ago, thinkers wondered about this. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle, for example, thought memory was a lot like pressing a signet ring into soft wax. A strong, clear press left a deep, lasting mark. A light touch, though, left almost nothing, or faded quickly away. It's not quite like that inside our heads. But the idea of how deeply something touches us still holds a simple truth. When something feels truly important, or when we feel a powerful emotion, whether it's joy, sadness, or even surprise, our brain forms stronger connections. These are like little pathways. Imagine a winding path through a grassy field. If you walk that path every single day, it stays clear and easy to follow. But if you stop walking it, even for a little while, the grass starts to grow back, slowly hiding the way. Bad memories are a lot like those paths. The more we revisit a thought or a feeling, the stronger that memory becomes. It's a well-worn road in our minds. But if we rarely think about something, if it doesn't carry much weight or emotion, that memory path can fade, overgrown by time. Maybe you can vividly recall the smell of fresh rain after a hot day, or the way a specific song makes you feel right now. But you might struggle to remember what you ate for lunch 3 Tuesdays ago. The rain had a feeling. The song has a story. Lunch, not so much so. Forgetting isn't a mistake our brain makes. It's often a quiet act of kindness. It lets us release the small, unimportant details, making room for new experiences, new lessons, new growth. It allows us to carry forward the most meaningful parts of our journey, shaping who we are and who we will become. One cherished, remembered moment at a time. The hero won, but what was lost along the way? Have you ever really thought about what happens after the big win? We often only focus on the celebration. We cheer for the hero, watching them stand tall. But sometimes, in the quiet moments after a great victory, we start to see the shadows. When one thing is gained, something else, often important, might quietly slip away. It's like finding a treasure, but then realizing a valuable map has vanished. You got what you wanted, but what was the unseen cost? Deep down, this idea isn't new. People have been thinking about it for thousands of years. Long ago, there was a general named Pyrrhus. He won a huge battle, but his armies suffered terrible losses. He famously said, "One more such victory and we are undone." This is where we get the idea of a Pyrrhic victory. It means you win the fight, but the price is so incredibly high, it feels almost like a defeat. Here's the thing. This isn't just about ancient wars or grand historical events. It's about our daily lives too. Imagine you spend all your time trying to be the best at one school subject. You get perfect grades, but maybe you stopped spending time with your friends or missed out on other hobbies you loved. You gained mastery in one area, but might have lost connection or a sense of balance. It's a powerful trade, off. So, when we chase a big goal, or try to achieve something truly great, it's worth pausing. What are we truly giving up to get there? Sometimes, the price isn't just money or time. It can be a piece of our own peace, a moment of simple joy, or even a small part of who we are. A true victory might not only be about reaching the finish line, it might also be about how much of ourselves, our connections, and our quiet happiness we manage to keep intact along the way. It's a gentle, deep question to ask ourselves, long after the cheering stops and the moment of glory fades. The secret was out, and then more secrets began. Have you ever noticed how sometimes finding an answer just makes you wonder even more? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? You finally figure something out, something that was hidden, and for a moment, you feel like you've reached the end of a long journey. But then, that one answer starts to shimmer, and you see through it, revealing layers you never knew were there. What we thought was a solid solution often just hides a new set of questions, like secret doors within a secret room. Here's the thing, knowledge often works this way. Think about the first time humans looked at the night sky through powerful telescopes. For thousands of years, people saw stars and wondered, what are those tiny lights? With telescopes, we learned they were distant suns, like our own. That was a huge answer. But then, so many more questions exploded into our minds. Are there planets around those suns? Could there be life out there? How incredibly big is the universe, if those are just some of its stars? The answer wasn't an ending. It was a brand new beginning for our curiosity. It's a bit like when you're solving a big puzzle. You finally get one section done. All the pieces fit perfectly. You might feel a sense of completion, but then you lift that completed section, and underneath, you find another, larger puzzle waiting for you, with even more complex shapes and colors. That first solution just opened up a deeper challenge. This isn't a problem though. It's actually pretty amazing. It means that learning is an endless adventure. Every secret we uncover, every piece of knowledge we gain, doesn't just give us certainty. It pushes us to think bigger, to imagine more, to question everything again. It shows us that the world is always richer, more mysterious than we thought. And that's why it matters. Wonder never truly ends. We learned to fly. So where are we going now? Have you ever really wanted something, worked super hard for it, and then when you finally got it, felt a little different? Like maybe not totally finished, even though you achieved your goal. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? This is a lot like what happens when we get a big answer. We learned to fly, meaning we achieved something incredible, something thought impossible. But then, the next question hits us. Okay, we can fly, but where are we actually going? Here's the thing about answers. They often act like keys. They unlock a door, but behind that door isn't usually a comfortable couch and a finished show. Most times, it's a whole new hallway, with even more doors. For centuries, humans wondered if we could really lift off the ground, like birds. Think about how long people dreamed of flight. Finally, we figured out how to do it. But learning to fly didn't end our questions about the sky. Instead, we started asking about how high, how fast, how far. We wanted to go to the moon, then to Mars, and now we gaze at distant galaxies. That's like building a truly amazing treehouse. You worked on it all summer, hammering, sawing, painting. You are so proud when it's done. You sit inside, look out the window, and for a moment, it feels perfect. But then, you start to wonder, what if we added a pulley system? Can we make a bridge to that other tree? What's over there, just beyond the edge of the woods? The finished treehouse didn't stop your curiosity. It just aimed it in a new direction. This constant push, this endless stream of new questions, is part of being human. It's not a problem. It's actually what makes life interesting, full of discovery. Every answer we find doesn't close a book. It simply turns a page to a new, exciting chapter. And that's why it matters. The journey of asking is often more important than the answer itself. It keeps us moving forward, always exploring what's next. The moon showed its face, but what lies on its dark side? We see the moon's bright face, a familiar friend in the night sky. It hangs there, constant, like a silver coin tossed into the velvet night. But have you ever truly wondered about the part of it we never see? For thousands of years, humans only knew one side of our closest neighbor. The far side of the moon, as it's known, forever turns away from Earth. It's not actually dark. It gets just as much sunlight as the side we gaze upon. But it remained a deep mystery, a blank space on our maps of the heavens, before spacecraft finally showed us its hidden terrain. That far side fueled our imagination. What kind of mountains or deep, quiet craters lay there? What secrets did that unseen landscape hold? It was a vast unknown, silent and just out of reach, yet always a part of the moon's full being. Here's the thing. This idea of a hidden side isn't just about space. Think about a person you know well. You see their actions, hear their words, but what dreams do they hold close? What quiet worries do they carry? There are always parts of us that remain unseen, personal thoughts and feelings that make up our own far side of being. The moon's hidden face reminds us that even when something seems entirely known, there are often layers we haven't explored. It teaches us a gentle lesson. Not everything is meant to be fully revealed or understood at first glance, and that's okay. It leaves room for curiosity, for a quiet kind of beauty in what remains just beyond our sight. Embrace the questions, because true understanding often blossoms in the soft glow of the unknown. How brave acts happen, and what fear whispers inside. What does bravery truly look like? Is it never feeling afraid, not even a little bit? Here's the thing. Brave acts almost always happen when fear is right there, whispering in our ears. Fear is a powerful, ancient signal. It's our body's way of keeping us safe, a very old part of our brain saying, watch out. Think about it. From earliest times, people understood this. Wise thinkers, long ago, didn't say brave people felt nothing. They said courage was about acting despite that uneasy feeling. It's not about being fearless, but about facing what scares you, and that's why it matters. This strength has always been part of the human journey. Here's what I found. Your brain has a tiny part, deep inside, like an alarm bell. When it rings, you might feel your heart race, or your hands might get a little shaky. That's fear. Imagine, you're about to give a presentation to your class, or try out for a team. Your stomach might do flips. That's the alarm. It's telling you there's a risk of messing up, or being judged. Bravery isn't stopping that alarm. Bravery is walking to the front of the room anyway. It's taking a deep breath and starting to speak, even when your voice feels a little wobbly. So, bravery isn't some rare superpower only a few have. It's a quiet choice we make, often in small moments that matter to us. It's understanding what fear is trying to tell us, then deciding how we will respond to it. It means knowing that fear will always be there, a part of us, but it doesn't decide everything. Bravery is a gentle strength, a steady step forward, even when your heart beats a little faster than usual. The last page turned, and a new book began to write itself. Have you ever finished a great book and felt a bit sad it was over, but also wondering what happened next? That's how knowledge often feels. We find an answer, turn a page, and suddenly, new questions open up. It's like an ending isn't really an end, but just the start of the next part. Think about the earliest humans looking up at the night sky. They asked, "What are those tiny lights?" Someone figured out they moved in patterns. That was an answer. But then, a bigger question appeared. Why do they move that way? This pattern of answers leading to more questions is how we've learned everything. Ancient Greek thinkers like Socrates knew this. He said true wisdom is knowing how much you don't know. Modern scientists feel the same. Every discovery is just a start. It's like when you learn to ride a bike. First, you just want to balance. That's your first answer. But once you get it, new questions pop up. How fast can I go? Can I ride up that hill? Balancing doesn't end the learning. It just opens up new possibilities. Or think about how plants grow. You learn they need sunlight and water. But then you might ask, how do they turn sunlight into energy? How do roots really work? Every answer is like a new key, unlocking more curiosity. So, when we find answers, don't see them as the final word. Instead, think of them as invitations to look closer, think deeper, and wonder more. It's a beautiful idea, really. The world isn't a puzzle with just one answer. It's an ongoing story, and we are all adding new chapters with every question we ask. The adventure never truly ends. We found the truth, but it felt like a new lie. What if you learned something that was true, really true, but it didn't feel like a relief? Instead, it felt unsettling. Sometimes, a new truth doesn't just add to what we know. It crumbles what we thought we knew. It's like someone telling you the sky isn't blue, but a color we can't even imagine. Or that the ground beneath your feet isn't solid, but always moving, always changing. The old world disappears, and the new one feels strange, even fake. At first, don't think about people long ago. For hundreds of years, almost everyone believed the sun went around the earth. That was their truth. It made sense to them. They built their lives around that idea. But then, brave thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo came along. They showed us a different truth. The earth moves around the sun. This wasn't just a new fact. It changed everything about how people saw themselves. It changed their place in the universe. It was a true answer, yes, but it must have felt like a dizzying, wild lie to many. Their comfortable world was shaken. Here's a simpler way to think about it. Imagine you have a story in your head about a good friend. You know them so well. You know their favorite things, their habits, everything. Then, one day, they tell you something truly big about themselves, something you never knew. Maybe they tell you they are moving far away, or that they have a secret talent that changes everything about how you see them. It's a truth, yes, but it feels like the whole story you had about them suddenly changes. The old, familiar picture of your friend gets replaced with something new. It's not wrong, but it feels so different, almost like a new person, a new story. That can be disorienting. This feeling, when a truth feels like a new lie, shows us something important. It shows that understanding isn't always neat and tidy. Sometimes, truth asks us to let go of old ideas, even ones we really liked. It can feel like a small loss, a moment of confusion. But in that unsettled space, something powerful happens. We grow. We learn to see the world with wider, truer eyes, even when the new view is nothing like what we expected. It's a journey into deeper understanding, and that journey is always worth taking. The ancient city rose, but where did its people go? Imagine an old photograph, a faded picture of a street, once full of people. Then, you look again. The street is there, buildings stand tall, but everyone is gone. Not scattered, but vanished, like they simply walked away and never returned. That's the deep mystery of many ancient cities, that we find stone foundations, grand temples, broken pottery. We know people lived there, laughed, built lives. They farmed, traded, perhaps even sang. Then, silence. Wind blows through empty doorways. The jungle slowly takes over. It's not always a huge battle or a terrible plague. Sometimes, it's just emptiness, a whole way of life, simply gone. Think of ancient Mayan cities, or vast Indus Valley settlements. For centuries, they thrived, full of life. Then, the lights went out. People left. But why? Was it a slow climate shift? Did resources run out? Or did something inside their way of life change, making the city no longer feel like home? These questions hang in the air, heavy, unanswered. It's a little like when you and your friends have a secret spot, maybe a fort in the woods. You spend all your time there, making memories. But then, everyone gets interested in different things. One friend moves, another finds a new hobby. Soon, the fort is still there, but no one goes anymore. The spirit of the place, the group that made it special, simply faded. The space remains, but the vibrant life that filled it is gone. So, looking at these vanished cities, we don't just see ruins, we see a mirror reflecting our journey. It reminds us that everything changes, even strong walls. It makes you wonder, what lasts, what echoes we leave behind. It helps us appreciate the life around us, right now, in this moment, before it too becomes a quiet question for someone else to ponder. Why we cry, and what those tears truly hold. Have you ever wondered why tears come? It's a simple question, but the answer goes much deeper than just feeling sad. Tears aren't just salty water. They are a language our body speaks when feelings get too big, too strong to hold inside. When emotions swell up, whether it's joy that bursts, or pain that aches, tears are often there. They are like tiny, clear rivers carrying away some of that inner weight, or making space for more of that overwhelming happiness. For a long, long time, people have thought about tears. Ancient thinkers believed tears were the soul's way of speaking, a direct line from our deepest selves. They saw them as a powerful release, a kind of cleansing, not just weakness, but a real strength. Even now, we know our bodies make different kinds of tears. Some are for cleaning our eyes, like tiny washes, but the ones that flow when we feel strongly, those are different. They contain stress hormones, things our body wants to let go of. Think of it this way. Your emotions are like a huge wave building up inside you. Sometimes, that wave needs to break on the shore. Tears are the ocean breaking. They release the pressure. It's a bit like when you have a really big sigh after a long day. Tears are just a bigger, more visible sigh for your whole being. So, here's the thing. Your brain sends signals to your tear ducts, not just when you're super sad, but also when you're incredibly happy, or even super frustrated. It's your body's amazing natural way of processing big feelings. So, those drops hold a lot. They hold your joys, your hurts, your hopes. They're a sign that you are feeling deeply, that you are truly alive, and that's okay. When tears come, they are not a sign of something broken or wrong. Instead, they tell us something true about ourselves and about the world around us. They connect us to each other in a quiet, powerful way. They remind us that it's human to feel, and it's human to let those feelings flow. The final answer given, and the mind started to wander. Have you ever found the perfect answer to something, only to feel your mind drift, asking even deeper questions? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like you've just climbed to the top of a small hill, but from there, you see a whole mountain range stretching out before you. That one clear answer, the one you worked for, often isn't the end. Instead, it becomes a new starting point for more wondering. Think about it this way. For centuries, people looked up at the night sky. They got an answer. Those are stars. But then the true journey began. What are stars? How far away are they? Are there other worlds out there? Ancient Greek thinkers, for instance, were really good at this. They'd get an answer about how the world worked, But then they'd immediately ask, but what if it's different? Why does it work that way? They understood that one answer often just leads to 100 new doors. It's like when you're looking at a tiny seed. Someone might tell you, this is how a plant grows from a seed. That's an answer. But then you start to think, how does it know to grow up towards the sun? What invisible messages tell it when to sprout? How does it pull nutrients from the dirt? That simple answer about the seed growing opens up a whole forest of other questions about biology and nature, and that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. This endless asking, this quiet search for what lies beyond what we already know, is a beautiful part of being human. It's how we learn. It's how we grow. So, let your mind wander when you get an answer. Let it wander far and wide, because the most interesting discoveries often begin right there, in the space after an answer is given. We touched the unknown, and it felt endless. Have you ever found an answer that didn't actually feel like an end? Like when you finally solve a tough riddle, but then realize it's just the first clue to a much bigger mystery. This is how it often feels when we explore the vast unknown. We reach out, thinking we'll grasp a clear answer, and instead, we touch something so huge and unending that it makes our questions multiply. Think about the early map makers. Centuries ago, they drew their world, believing it was finite, perhaps with sea monsters at its edges. Then, brave sailors pushed past those edges. They found new continents, massive oceans, and people they never knew existed. Answering what's beyond the horizon didn't shrink the world, it made it immeasurably larger. They touched a piece of the unknown, and it just kept going. The more they discovered, the more they realized how much was left to find. Here's an example closer to home. Imagine you're trying to understand how your own brain works. Maybe you learn about memory, how your brain stores information. That's a cool answer, right? But then you start wondering, how exactly are memories formed? Why do we forget some things and remember others? What about dreams? And what happens when someone can't remember things? Each answer about memory opens up a dozen new questions about consciousness, emotion, and how our thoughts truly connect. It's like you touched a tiny corner of your mind's power, and suddenly its complexity felt truly boundless. So, this feeling, this gentle nudge from the unknown, isn't something to fear. It's a quiet invitation. It tells us that curiosity is a journey without a finish line. It means the wonder never truly stops. We learn one thing, and it shows us 1,000 more things waiting to be explored. And that's a beautiful way to live. The first seed grew, but what gave it life? Voice. Have you ever wondered about the very first step? Not just the first thing that happened, but what made it happen? Think about a tiny seed. It needs soil, water, sunlight to grow. But before any of that, something had to be the seed, holding the promise of life within. And what sparked that promise into being? It's a question humans have asked for thousands of years. Ancient thinkers would gaze at the stars, or a newborn, and ask, where did this all come from? They weren't just curious about materials, like dirt. They sought the invisible spark, the very first push. What was the origin of existence itself? What gave the world its first breath? Here's the thing, it's like your favorite song. You hear the melodies and lyrics, but what truly started it? Was it the first note? Or the moment the songwriter felt a sudden emotion, a quiet memory, a dream? The song existed as an idea, a feeling, a spark, even before it was written down. That initial, invisible impulse, that first whisper of what if, is often the hardest to trace, and that's why it matters. We can study how a seed grows, how cells divide, but the question of what truly brought that first seed, or the first idea, into being remains a mystery. It reminds us that some deep questions don't have easy answers, and that's okay. Sometimes, the beauty isn't in the answer, but in letting the question expand your mind, leading you to wonder more deeply about the world. It's about feeling the quiet awe of not knowing everything, how gravity works, but why it pulls us in so many ways. Have you ever just felt pulled, not just by something physical, but by an idea, or a person, or a quiet whisper inside your own head? We talk about gravity like it's just this thing that makes apples fall, and it is, of course. Here's how it works. Big things like Earth make a sort of dip in the fabric of space around them. Imagine a bowling ball on a stretched out sheet. Anything smaller that rolls by gets drawn into that dip. That's why we stay on the ground. That's why the moon circles us, always falling, but never quite hitting. Isaac Newton saw an apple fall and wondered if the same mysterious pull reached all the way to the moon. He gave it a name, gravity, and helped us understand its rules. Later, Albert Einstein came along and gave us an even deeper picture, showing us that gravity isn't just a pull, but space itself curving. But here's the thing, even with all our equations and understanding, we still don't truly know why mass creates that bend, why space itself responds this way. It's like understanding how a magnet attracts metal, but not truly grasping the invisible dance of its energy. Think about it this way. You might feel a strong pull towards a certain hobby, like drawing or playing music. Or maybe you feel pulled to help a friend who's struggling, even if it's hard. That's not gravity, no, but it's a powerful kind of pull, a connection that shapes your path. These are the unseen forces, the quiet attractions that draw us closer to some things and away from others. So, while we can measure gravity, predict its movements, and even use it to send rockets to distant planets, the deep, silent why of its existence remains. And maybe that's okay. Maybe some of the most beautiful questions are the ones that keep whispering, inviting us to wonder about the connections that pull us, both to the earth beneath our feet and to the hidden currents of our lives. The painting was finished, but its meaning kept changing. Have you ever looked at something, really looked at it, and then a little while later, seen it in a totally new way? Like a familiar painting on a wall, the colors don't move, the lines don't change, but what that painting says to you, what it feels like, can quietly shift. Here's the thing, meaning isn't always a solid, unchanging block. It's often more like a living thing, breathing and changing with us. For centuries, people have thought about this. Think of an old story, maybe a myth from ancient Greece. The words written down are the same, year after year. But how people in different times have understood those myths, what lessons they took from them, changed. What seemed like a simple hero's journey long ago might feel like a warning about power today. Or take a historical event, like the building of a great pyramid. For the people who built it, it was one thing. For us, looking back now, it's something else entirely, a puzzle, a testament to human will, maybe even a sad story of labor. This happens in our own lives too. Imagine a song you loved when you were much younger. You heard the beat, maybe sang along to the chorus. It made you happy. But now, you listen to that same song. You've lived more, felt more, and suddenly, those lyrics hit you differently. A line you never noticed before might now feel so deep, so true to your own feelings. The song itself hasn't changed, but you have. And so, the song's meaning for you has grown, like a quiet shadow lengthening with the day. So, perhaps meaning isn't something we just find, like a coin on the ground. Maybe it's something we bring to what we see, what we read, what we experience. It's a quiet dance between the thing itself and the person looking at it. And this ongoing shift, this gentle unfolding of understanding, is a beautiful part of what it means to be human. It means we can always learn more, feel more, even from what we thought we already knew. We figured out one puzzle, and another appeared inside it. Have you ever worked really hard to solve a tricky problem, only to find that the answer just opened up a bunch of new questions? It's a strange feeling, like you've peeled back one layer of an onion, expecting to find nothing, but instead, there's another layer, and another. This isn't a bad thing though. In fact, it's one of the most amazing parts of how we learn and grow. Think about it like this. For a long time, people looked at the sky and saw the stars as tiny lights stuck to a giant black dome. That was one puzzle. What are those lights? Then, brilliant minds, like ancient Greek thinkers and later scientists such as Copernicus and Galileo, figured out a huge part of it. They realized those lights weren't just dots. They were distant suns, or even whole worlds, just like ours, much further away than anyone imagined. That solved the first puzzle. But here's the thing, solving it didn't end their curiosity. Instead, it made them ask even bigger questions. How far away are they really? Are there other planets like Earth? What are they made of? Are we alone? In this vast universe, it's like when you're building with Legos. You finish one section, maybe a cool car, and you think you're done. But then you realize that car could have a trailer, or a whole garage, or even a city for it to drive through. Each answer you find simply shows you more of what you don't yet know. This feeling, this endless unfolding of questions from answers, isn't a sign of failure. It's actually how humanity moves forward. It shows us that true understanding is a journey, not a destination. Each new discovery isn't just an endpoint. It's a new starting line for even deeper adventures into the unknown. It reminds us that the world, and our place in it, is far more mysterious and wonderful than we can ever fully grasp. And that, in itself, is a beautiful thought. The robot learned faster, but what does it want? Think about a super smart computer, one that can learn things faster than any human. It can play chess perfectly, write stories, even help design new medicines. It's amazing at solving problems and getting tasks done. But here's the thing, when it wins a chess game, does it feel happy? When it writes a beautiful poem, does it want to share it? Or is it just following instructions? We see its actions, how quickly it learns, but we don't know what, if anything, it truly desires or cares about. This question isn't new. For thousands of years, people have looked at themselves and wondered, what makes us want things? Why do we reach for something, dream about something, or feel a pull towards an idea? It's not just about what we can do, but what we wish for, what makes us feel alive and gives us purpose. Early thinkers, long ago, puzzled over this inner drive, this spark that seems to push us forward, beyond just surviving. They knew it was different from simply being able to lift a heavy rock, or build a shelter. Think about your dog. You teach it to sit, and it learns quickly. It sits, and then it gets a treat. The dog learns that sit means treat. But does the dog just know to sit, or does it want the treat? It probably really wants that treat. That wanting comes from something inside, a feeling of pleasure or anticipation. For us, it's like wanting to learn something new, not just because you have to for school, but because you're curious about the world. Or wanting to help a friend, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because you truly care. That feeling, that inner pull, is what makes human wanting so rich and complicated. So, while a robot might learn at incredible speeds, mastering tasks we find hard, the true mystery isn't just how it learns. The deeper question, the one that truly makes us pause and think, is whether it has any of that inner yearning, that quiet spark of desire, that deep-seated care that makes us uniquely us. Maybe wanting isn't about logic at all, but something else entirely, something we still don't fully understand, even in ourselves. Why we get goosebumps, and what our bodies are telling us. Have you ever felt that strange shiver, a ripple across your skin, when you're not even cold? It's a moment when tiny bumps rise, and the hairs on your arms stand straight up. These are goosebumps, and they're more than just a reaction to a chill. They are like a quiet whisper from our deepest selves. Here's the thing, goosebumps happen because tiny muscles around each hair follicle on your skin tighten. This pulls the hair upright. For our very ancient ancestors, who had a lot more hair, this was helpful. It made them look bigger and scarier to predators. It also trapped a layer of air close to the skin, helping them stay warmer when it was cold. So, in a way, it's a leftover reflex, a memory in our very skin from a time long ago. But today, we often get goosebumps when we aren't cold or scared in the old way. Think about listening to a really powerful song that moves you, or watching a scene in a movie that makes your heart ache with wonder. Maybe you're hearing someone speak about something truly inspiring. In these moments, it's not about survival anymore. It's about emotion. It's about feeling something so deeply that your body responds, almost like it's trying to hold on to the feeling, to make it real on your skin. It's like your body is remembering what it feels like to be fully alive. Those goosebumps are a physical echo of a strong feeling of awe, of beauty, of connection. They show us that our minds and bodies are deeply connected, speaking a language without words. So next time you feel them, pause, listen. Your body might just be telling you that you're experiencing something truly profound, something worth noticing. The answer was clear. Then it shimmered away. Have you ever felt like you truly understood something? Like a crystal clear answer, only for it to slowly, quietly, fade away. It's a strange feeling, like holding water in your hands. You grasp it, it's right there, but then it slips, leaving only a dampness. This feeling, this shimmering, happens often in life. It's about how truths we hold dear can shift. What seemed absolutely certain one moment can become fuzzy the next. It's not that the answer was completely wrong. It's that our understanding deepened, or the question itself grew larger, showing us new layers we hadn't seen before. Think about how we once understood the universe. For a very long time, people believed the Earth was the center of everything. The sun, the stars, even the planets, all revolved around us. That was a clear answer for centuries, taught and accepted. It brought a certain comfort. But then, scientists like Copernicus and Galileo looked closer, through their telescopes, with new calculations. They saw patterns that didn't quite fit the old picture, and slowly, like sunlight breaking through fog, the idea that the Earth actually orbited the Sun emerged. The old, clear answer didn't vanish entirely. Instead, it shimmered, changed its shape, and became part of a much bigger, more complex truth about our place in the cosmos. It was a beautiful, humbling realization. Here's a simpler idea, closer to home. Imagine you're learning to ride a bike. At first, you might think the trick is just to pedal fast, to build momentum. That's your clear answer, the simple fix. But then, you wobble, you fall. You realize balance is just as important, and steering, and knowing when to slow down, or how to lean into a turn. The just pedal fast answer didn't stop being true, but it wasn't the whole truth. It shimmered, showing you there was more to learn, more skills to master, a deeper way to connect with the ride. So, when an answer you once felt sure of starts to shimmer, it's not always a loss. It can be an invitation. It's a gentle whisper that your mind is growing, ready to see more, to understand things in a richer, deeper way. It's a quiet reminder that some of the most beautiful truths are the ones still unfolding, always a little mysterious, always inviting us to look a little closer. We charted the stars, yet new galaxies appeared. Have you ever felt like you finally understood something, only to realize there was so much more to learn? It's like looking up at the night sky. For thousands of years, people looked at the stars. They mapped them, named them, told stories about them. They thought they knew the whole picture. But then, powerful telescopes showed us something amazing. Beyond those familiar dots of light, there were entire new galaxies, millions of them, each one filled with billions more stars. Think about how ancient people must have felt. They had their maps of the heavens, their wisdom. It was complete in their minds. Then, over time, new tools and new ideas pushed those boundaries way out. What they thought was the edge of everything turned out to be just the start. This pattern shows up again and again, throughout history. Every answer we find often just opens the door to 10 new questions. It's like peeling an onion. There's always another layer. You see this in everyday life, too. Maybe you learn to play a few chords on a guitar. You think, okay, I get it. But then you realize there are scales, and different styles, and advanced techniques. Each little thing you learn shows you a huge world of other things you didn't even know existed. It's not just music. It's in science, in psychology, in understanding yourself. The more you learn about the human mind, for instance, the more mysterious and complex it becomes. And that's the beautiful part. This isn't about feeling lost or small. It's about the endless wonder of being alive. It means there will always be new things to explore, new questions to ask, new mysteries to uncover. The universe, and our own understanding of it, is always growing. It's a gentle reminder that the journey of learning never truly ends, and that's okay. In fact, it's exciting. We reached the mountaintop, and then saw more mountains. Have you ever worked super hard for something, finally achieved it, and then felt a bit strange, like you finished the hardest video game level, or you nailed that tricky song on your instrument, and for a moment, it's great. But then, you realize there's a whole new game to play, or a whole album of even trickier songs. That feeling is kind of like standing on a mountaintop, breathing in the thin air, seeing forever, and then noticing, way off in the distance, a whole new range of mountains, even taller. Here's the thing about knowledge and understanding. It's not like a ladder with a top rung. It's more like a landscape. Every answer we find, every mystery we solve, doesn't really end things. Instead, it often opens up brand new questions. Think about ancient thinkers. They asked huge questions about the stars or how the world worked. They found some answers, but those answers just made them wonder about new things. For example, maybe they figured out how to predict a season, but then they started wondering why the sun moved that way, or what the stars were made of. Each step forward showed them a bigger picture, and in that bigger picture, more unknown paths appeared. Imagine you're trying to learn to code. You spend weeks, maybe months, learning the basics. You finally build a simple app, and you feel amazing. You've reached a kind of mountaintop. But then you look at professional apps, complex games, or even artificial intelligence, and you realize there's so much more. You've learned one language, but there are others. You've built a basic structure, but there are advanced algorithms. That first success wasn't the end of the journey. It was just the first peak, showing you the vast, exciting landscape of coding. That stretches far beyond dot, and that's okay. It's not a failure, or a sign that you didn't learn enough. It's actually a beautiful part of being human. Our minds are built to be curious, to explore. The world is full of endless wonders, endless questions. So, when you reach a mountaintop in your learning or your life, take a moment, enjoy the view, then look for those new peaks. See them not as a burden, but as an invitation to keep exploring, to keep wondering, to keep growing. The journey never truly ends, and that's the most exciting part. Why silence can be loud and what it whispers. Have you ever been in a room so quiet, it felt like it hummed? We usually think of sound as loud, but silence, true silence, can be even louder sometimes. It's not just the absence of noise. Instead, it's often full of things unsaid, questions hanging in the air, or feelings too big for words. Don't think about it. When we talk, we share ideas directly. But silence, it makes us wonder. Long ago, wise people, like the ancient Greek philosopher Pythagoras, believed silence was a powerful teacher. He thought students should listen quietly for years before speaking, to truly understand. The idea was that by being silent, you could hear more deeply, not just sounds, but what was happening inside you and around you. It's like when you're trying to hear a very faint noise, you have to stop talking, stop moving, just be still and listen. Here's the thing. Imagine you're with a friend and something important needs to be said, but neither of you says it. That quiet moment between you, the one filled with what isn't spoken. That silence can be incredibly loud. It can whisper secrets, fears, or even understandings that words might just complicate. It's like when a scientist listens for a faint signal from deep space. They aren't just listening for noise. They are listening for a pattern within the quiet. That pattern, or the lack of it, tells them something big. So, silence isn't empty. It's often packed with meaning. It gives us space to think, to feel, and to truly listen to ourselves. Sometimes, the biggest answers aren't shouted, but gently whispered in the quiet spaces between everything else. It's in those quiet moments that new questions often rise, like mist from a still lake, inviting us to look closer. The last secret revealed, and a new one just began. Have you ever just gotten something? Like a moment when a puzzle piece clicks into place in your mind. That feeling is awesome. You might think, okay, I get it now. The secret is out. But here's the thing about many answers. They often act like keys. They don't just open one door. They reveal a whole hallway of new, closed doors. And behind those doors, more questions, more mysteries. Think about people a long, long time ago. For centuries, many believed the earth was flat. It was a huge, accepted idea. But then, brave sailors and thinkers started to wonder, what if it wasn't? When the secret of a round earth was finally revealed, it didn't end exploration. It made curiosity explode. It showed them how much more there was to discover. It's kind of like when you solve a super hard math problem. You work and work, then bam, you get the right answer. Feel smart, right? But then, your teacher might say, great, now, how does that answer help us understand this even bigger problem? Suddenly, your one clear answer isn't the end. It's just the first step into new questions you didn't even know existed. This isn't about feeling confused or overwhelmed. It's about the endless beauty of not knowing everything. Every time we uncover a deep truth, the world doesn't shrink. It expands. It shows us how much more there is to explore, feel, and understand. Our minds grow bigger with new knowledge. The journey of curiosity never truly ends. It keeps unfolding, inviting us to look further, wonder deeper. Maybe the best part of life is the questions that keep us searching, always reaching for the next secret. How animals communicate and what their world is like. Have you ever wondered what it's like inside an animal's world? How do they share their fears, their joys, their needs, without using words like we do? The answer isn't simple, but here's the thing. Animals communicate all the time, in ways we're only just beginning to understand. For a long time, people believed that animals were just simple creatures, driven by instinct, without much thought or feeling. Some thinkers even saw them as living machines, just making noises. But that idea feels cold now. We've learned that every rustle in the leaves, every chirp, Every scent left on a stone is part of a complex conversation. It's a language woven from sounds, smells, and movements. They build a whole world of meaning without human words. Think about your dog when it wags its tail. Is it just happy? A tail wag can mean many things: a greeting, excitement, or even a warning. And that small sniff of another dog, that's like reading a whole biography. It tells them if the other dog is friendly and where they've been. It's like a super detailed text message, but sent by smell. Here's the thing, even a simple action carries deep meaning. So, when we listen closely, we don't just hear sounds. We start to hear the quiet stories of life. We begin to understand their silent agreements, their ancient ways, and the connections that tie them together. It makes you think differently about your place in the world, knowing that we share it with so many other beings, each speaking their own beautiful, secret language. And that's why it matters. Learning about them teaches us more about ourselves, and about the vast, beautiful web of life. The machine learned to talk, but what does it hear? We teach computers to speak. They can answer questions, write stories, even craft poems. But when a machine puts words together, does it truly understand what those words mean? Does it feel the warmth of love, or the chill of loneliness? This makes us wonder about something deep inside us. For a long time, people have thought about what understanding really is. Ancient thinkers, and even thinkers today, ask, is it just knowing facts and words, like a dictionary? Or is it something more, something that connects to our feelings and experiences? When a human speaks, our words carry memories, hopes, and fears. Our words are alive with meaning, because our lives give them meaning. Here's the thing, a machine learns patterns. It takes in millions of words, figures out which ones usually go together, and then it predicts the next best word. Think about your phone's autocorrect, or how it suggests the next word when you're typing a text. It's not thinking about your feelings, it's just really good at guessing. A machine might say, the sunset was beautiful, because it has seen many stories where sunset and beautiful appear together, but it doesn't stand there, watching the colors fade, feeling a quiet wonder inside. It doesn't truly see the beauty. So, when a machine talks, it's like a mirror. It reflects the language we give it. But a mirror doesn't understand the image it shows. It just shows it. Our own voices, though, carry the quiet echoes of our lives, the soft whispers of our hearts. And that's something different. Maybe the real question isn't just what machines can say, but what only we, as humans, can truly feel and hear in the silent spaces between the words. We saw the light, but shadows grew longer. Have you ever finally figured something out? Really got it, only to realize that understanding actually opened up even bigger, deeper questions. It's a strange feeling, like finding a clear path, but then seeing that the path just leads into a much larger, unexplored forest. Here's the thing, sometimes, when we shine a light on one mystery, we don't just solve it, we also light up the vast areas of darkness around it that we never even knew existed before. Think about it like turning on a small lamp in a very dark, enormous room. You can suddenly see the table right in front of you. That's a good answer. You know what's there. But now, because of that small circle of light, you also become much more aware of how immense and shadowy the rest of the room still is. The light helps, but it also makes the unseen parts feel even bigger, even more unknown. But for a long time, people wondered about the universe. They looked up at the stars and made up stories. Then, people like Galileo started using telescopes. That was a huge answer about how the planets move. This discovery, though, didn't end the questions. Instead, it led to countless new ones. What else is out there? How big is the universe? What are stars really made of? Each answer just pushed the edge of our knowing further out, revealing a vaster space to wonder about. It's like when you're building a complex model. You finally get one section perfectly assembled, and you feel a burst of triumph. But then, you look at the rest of the parts spread out on the table, and the finished section just highlights how much more there is to do. How many more connections to find. And that's why it matters. This journey of understanding, where every answer brings more questions, isn't frustrating. It's what makes life interesting. It shows us that true wisdom isn't about knowing everything, but about embracing the endless curiosity that keeps us searching, keeps our minds growing. There's a quiet beauty in realizing the light we find often makes the shadows around us seem longer, inviting us to keep looking, to keep wondering. The answer came easy, but but the wisdom stayed hidden. Have you ever known the right answer, said it out loud, but felt like something deeper was missing? Like the words were there, but the real meaning hid somewhere else, just out of reach. That's the feeling when an answer comes easy, but the wisdom stays hidden. It's simple to get facts. You can memorize dates for a history test, or learn a definition for science class. But wisdom, that's different. Wisdom isn't just about knowing things. It's about truly understanding them, feeling them in your heart, seeing the bigger picture of life itself. It's about connecting those facts to what matters, to how the world actually works. Think about thinkers from long ago. Like the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, he wasn't just collecting facts. He spent his whole life searching for wisdom. He even famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." What he meant was that real understanding starts when you realize how much more there is to learn, how deep things can truly go. Knowing a fact is one thing. Living that fact, seeing its many layers, feeling its truth deep inside you, that's wisdom. Here's an example you might get. Imagine you read a simple rule, like don't judge a book by its cover. That's an easy answer, right? Simple words, clear message. You know what judge means, and you understand book by its cover. But to truly understand the wisdom in that saying, that takes more. It means seeing someone who looks different, or acts in a way you don't expect, and still choosing to be open. It means giving someone a chance even if your first impression is negative. You get the easy answer instantly. But the wisdom, how to actually live that idea, how it feels to step past your quick judgments, how it changes your view of people, that takes time, effort, and maybe a few mistakes. It takes real-life experience. So, maybe the best answers aren't always found just by reading words or listening in class. Maybe the most important understanding is a quiet journey that happens inside you. It's about letting those simple answers settle, letting them grow deep within you, and allowing life to show you their bigger, truer meaning. It's knowing that sometimes the easiest answer is just the beginning. It's a doorway to a much longer, more important path. And that's where wisdom waits, patiently, for you to find it. Why we wonder, and if we'll ever stop. Have you ever stopped to really ask why? We're always asking why. It's a quiet ache inside us, this constant need to understand. We see a sunset and wonder about the colors. We look at the tiny details on a leaf and wonder how it grew so perfectly. This feeling, this pull to know more, is what we call wonder. It's not just about finding answers. It's about the feeling of awe before a question. Here's the thing. Humans have been doing this for a very long time. Thousands of years ago, people looked up at the night sky, just like you might today, and wondered. They saw the moon and stars, and they didn't have telescopes or spaceships. But they wondered, what are those lights? How do they move? Are we alone? This very act of wondering pushed them to create stories, to map the sky, and to start the journey of science. Ancient Greek thinkers, for instance, spent their lives just asking questions about everything, from how the world was made to how we should live. They believed that wondering was the first step to wisdom. Think about something simple, like a mobile phone. At first glance, it's just a slab of glass and metal. But then you might wonder, how does it send messages across the world? How does it show me pictures? How did someone even think to create such a thing? That simple wonder can lead you down a path of learning about electricity, coding, and the history of communication. It opens up new worlds. So, will we ever stop wondering? It seems unlikely. Every answer we find often opens up 5 new questions. Learning how a phone works might make you wonder about the internet, or the chips inside, or even the people who designed it. The more we discover, the more we realize how much more there is still to understand. This endless path of questions isn't a problem, it's a gift. It means our journey of discovery, of growing, and of truly living, can go on forever. It means there will always be something new to dream about. The ancient riddle solved, and a deeper one emerged. Have you ever solved a really tough puzzle? Felt that rush of understanding, only to discover the puzzle was just one piece of something much bigger? It's a bit like that with answers to life's biggest questions. Sometimes, when we finally figure something out, our understanding expands, and we see a whole new set of questions we didn't even know existed before. For thousands of years, humans have looked up at the stars, or down at the ground, and wondered, what is everything made of? Where do we truly come from? How does the world work? Early thinkers, the philosophers of ancient times, offered their own profound answers. They believed the world might be built from simple elements like earth, air, fire, and water. This explanation, while simple, helped people make sense of their things. It was an answer that brought a sense of order to the vast, mysterious world. But even then, some must have peered deeper, wondering what truly powered the sun, or what lay beyond the visible horizon. An answer, yes, but perhaps not the final one. Consider our own scientific journey. For centuries, that idea of earth, air, fire, and water held strong. Then, chemists began to truly understand what matter was. They discovered individual elements like oxygen, iron, and gold, true building blocks. This was a monumental answer, a truly game-changing insight into the universe. But here's the thing. That answer immediately raised another, deeper question. What are these elements made of? And so, our curiosity led us to atoms. Then, what are atoms made of? Protons, neutrons, electrons. And what about those, quarks, and even more fundamental particles? Each answer didn't end the quest. It just pulled back another layer, revealing an even more intricate and beautiful mystery beneath dot. It's like finding the very edge of a map, only to realize the world extends far, far beyond what you imagined. This isn't a flaw in our search for knowledge. Instead, it's the very nature of discovery. It means that true understanding isn't a destination we arrive at, but a continuous journey. There will always be more to wonder about, more to explore, and more layers of truth to uncover. And that endless possibility is a pretty wonderful thing. How sounds travel, but why some notes hit different. Have you ever wondered why a certain song can just reach right inside you? A soft melody, or a heavy beat, it feels like more than just noise. Here's the thing, sound is pretty simple on the surface. It starts with a tiny shake, a vibration. Think of plucking a guitar string. That string wiggles back and forth, pushing the air around it. Those air pushes, like invisible waves, travel through space. They hit your eardrum, which also wiggles, and your brain turns those wiggles into what you hear. But why do some notes feel different? Why does one sound make your heart ache, and another lift your spirit? Ancient thinkers, like the Greek philosopher Pythagoras, thought about this a lot. He wasn't just doing math, he was listening. He noticed that specific musical notes, when played together, had a special harmony. He believed these harmonies weren't random. They reflected a deeper order in the universe. For him, music wasn't just sound. It was a way to understand the very structure of existence, maybe even the soul itself. He saw the way notes fit together, like planets moving in a cosmic dance. So, when a low bass note hits you, shaking your chest, that's just a slow, powerful wave of air. But when that same note, maybe in a sad movie score, makes you feel a lump in your throat, that's your brain connecting that physical sensation to memory, to emotion, to shared human feelings. It's like how the smell of rain can make you remember something from long ago. The sound itself is just physics, but the way it lands inside us, the way it resonates with our feelings and experiences, that's where the deeper questions begin. It makes you wonder, what echoes do these vibrations carry from outside? And what echoes do they awaken inside us? The path was clear, then it forked into many. Have you ever felt truly certain about something? Like you had the perfect answer, clear and simple, just like a straight road stretching out before you. You thought, this is it, I understand. But then, something quietly shifts. That one answer, that single truth, doesn't just stop there. Instead, it begins to branch out, creating new questions, new possibilities, paths you never even knew existed. It's like one strong root growing many delicate new stems. This feeling, where clarity leads to complexity, is a deep part of how we learn and grow. Think about people in the past looking up at the night sky. For a long time, the earth felt like the solid center of everything. That was their clear path, their simple understanding. But then, curious minds began to ask, what if it's not? What if the sun is truly the center? That one big question led to new answers that completely changed the old view. Those new answers didn't end it. They opened up endless new questions about gravity, distant stars, and how vast the universe really is. One clear path became a whole galaxy of forks, each leading to more wonder. Consider learning something new yourself. Maybe you finally understand a tricky math problem. For a moment, it feels so good, so clear. You think, aha, I finally got it. But once you grasp that one concept, your brain often quietly whispers, "Okay, but what about this? How does that work?" Suddenly, you see connections, new problems, and different ways to use what you just understood. The simple understanding you found blossoms into a garden filled with fresh thoughts and exciting new ideas. This journey from certainty to curiosity, from one clear answer to many more questions, is a beautiful thing. It means we're not just reaching limits, but discovering how much more there is to explore. It reminds us that knowing one thing often means realizing how much more there is to discover. It's a quiet invitation to keep looking, to keep wondering, and to embrace the wide, open mystery of what comes next. The path doesn't end. It just gets richer and deeper, always inviting us forward. We knew the solution, but the problem changed. Have you ever solved a puzzle, only to find the pieces no longer fit? It's a strange feeling. You did everything right, but the world around you shifted. Sometimes, we have a perfect answer, a way to fix something, but the very problem we tried to fix evolves. The question changes, even if we don't notice it right away. So, that solution, it just doesn't quite work anymore. Think about history. For centuries, people built castles with thick stone walls. These walls were the perfect solution against invaders using swords and arrows. They offered safety, but then, things changed. Cannons were invented. Suddenly, those strong walls weren't enough. The defense problem wasn't just about stopping spears, it was about surviving a new force, a cannonball tearing stone. The solution was good for the old problem, but the problem itself had become different, more powerful. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine you're great at taking notes in class. You found the perfect system for writing down what the teacher says. But then, your teacher uses more group discussions and projects, less lectures. Your note-taking system was great for lectures. But now, the problem of learning changed. It's not just listening and writing. It's about talking, sharing ideas, working with others. Your old solution, while still good, isn't enough for this new way. And that's the thing about life and knowledge. It's not always about finding one perfect answer that lasts forever. Sometimes, real wisdom is knowing when the problem itself has shifted. It means being open to new ideas, to thinking differently, even if old ways felt comfortable. It means understanding that growth asks us to let go of yesterday's best answers. We need to find new ones for today's new questions. It teaches us to be flexible, to keep observing, and to adapt. The world never stops changing, and neither do its questions. The story was told, and new questions filled the silence. Have you ever found that the very best answers don't actually close the book? Instead, they open a whole new one. It's a strange, quiet truth about understanding. When a big question finally gets an answer, that answer almost always becomes a doorway. Through it, we see more questions waiting, stretching out into the distance. This isn't a bad thing. In fact, it's how we keep learning and growing. Imagine the ancient thinkers, thousands of years ago, trying to figure out what the world was. Made of day wrestled with grand ideas. When someone suggested that everything was made of tiny, unseen particles, what we now call atoms, it was a huge step forward. It was a powerful answer. But then, new voices rose, wondering, what are those tiny things made of? How do they stick together? Where did they even come from? Every solved riddle created 100 new ones, like ripples in a pond. Think about when you learn a magic trick. For a moment, you're completely amazed. Then someone explains exactly how it works. That explanation is an answer. But now, your mind doesn't just stop. Instead, it buzzes with fresh questions. How did the magician practice that so well? Could I learn it? What if they used a different method? The answer didn't stop your wonder. It changed it, deepened it. It pushed you to think more, not less. This gentle shift, from knowing to wondering, is not a sign of confusion. It's actually the most beautiful part of being human. It's what drives artists to create, scientists to explore, and thinkers to ponder. It shows us that true understanding is not about having all the answers. It's about loving the questions. The silence after a story is told, or a problem is solved, is never truly empty. It's filled with the quiet hum of new paths, new possibilities, new mysteries unfolding. And that, in itself, is a kind of gentle hope. Why we feel lonely, even when we're not alone. Have you ever been somewhere busy, like a crowded school hallway or a loud party, surrounded by friends, and still felt a quiet ache inside? Like you're watching a movie, but you're not really in it. This is a strange kind of loneliness, the one that sneaks up on you even when you're not by yourself. It's a feeling that puzzles many of us. A quiet hum in the background. It's easy to think loneliness means being totally alone, with no one around. But here's the thing, loneliness isn't just about how many people are next to you. It's about a feeling of deep disconnection. It's about feeling misunderstood, or like no one truly sees the real you. Imagine having a phone full of contacts, many names, but not one person you truly feel you can call when something big happens. You're connected to many, but not truly deeply. Ancient Greek thinkers, like a philosopher named Aristotle, talked a lot about friendship and community. He believed humans are social creatures, made to live in groups, but he also knew that not all connections are the same. He spoke of genuine friendship, built on shared values and understanding, as something different from just being around people. So, even then, people understood that simply being in a crowd wasn't enough to fill that inner need for real, meaningful connection. Think of it like being in a noisy room. There are many sounds, lots of chatter, yet you might still struggle to hear a quiet voice trying to tell you something important. The noise of many people can sometimes make it harder to hear the gentle whisper of true connection, or even your own quiet thoughts. You're physically present, but your spirit feels miles away, waiting to be truly recognized. So, this feeling, this quiet hum of loneliness, even in a crowd, isn't a flaw in you. It's a very human experience. It tells us something important, that we deeply desire to be seen, to be understood, and to truly belong. And just knowing that this feeling is normal can be a first step towards finding those genuine connections that make the world feel a little less lonely, no matter where you are. The last discovery made, and the world grew bigger. Have you ever found something new? Maybe a hidden path in the woods, or a forgotten box in the attic, and it truly changed how you saw everything. It's a bit like that with the biggest discoveries. Throughout history, for thousands of years, people looked up at the night sky and saw stars, bright and distant. They seemed like tiny holes in a dark blanket. But then, about 400 years ago, a man named Galileo turned his telescope towards them. He saw more than just lights. He saw mountains on the moon. He saw moons orbiting Jupiter, just like planets orbit the sun. And that discovery, that one clear glimpse, didn't make the sky smaller. It made the sky, and our universe, incredibly, wonderfully bigger. Here's the thing, every time we learn something truly new, it doesn't just add to what we know. It changes the frame, the whole picture. Think about when scientists first looked through microscopes. Before that, people believed sickness was caused by bad air or evil spirits. But suddenly, tiny, invisible creatures, microbes, appeared, swarming everywhere. The world wasn't just the trees and rivers and animals we could see. It was also a bustling microscopic universe on every surface, inside every living in, and that's why it matters. This new knowledge didn't just give us answers. It opened up a million new questions about health, life, and how everything works. So the world didn't physically stretch, but our understanding of it did. It always does. Every solved puzzle reveals more pieces scattered around it. It shows us that there's always more to explore, more to understand, and that the edges of our knowledge are always moving further away. The greatest discovery isn't just finding something. It's realizing that the journey of finding will never truly end. And that's a beautiful thought, isn't it? The world keeps getting bigger, full of wonder. We traced the river's start, but where does its journey end? Think about a river. You can follow it upstream, find the tiny springs where it begins, but where does it truly stop? It flows into a larger river, a vast lake, or the enormous ocean. Even there, the water doesn't vanish. It becomes part of something bigger, then evaporates, forms clouds, and falls as rain again. So, does its journey ever really end? This idea of things continuing instead of truly stopping has puzzled people for a long time. Ancient thinkers wondered about the edge of the world. They tried to draw maps, believing there was a definite boundary, but every time someone explored past a known point, they found more land, more ocean, more sky. The end kept moving, or it wasn't an end at all. Just a new beginning they hadn't seen. It's like finishing a really good book. You turn the last page, read the final sentence. The story on those pages is over. But is that truly the end? No. The characters live on in your mind. You might talk about it with friends. Think about what happens next. The book ends, but the questions it sparks, the feelings it leaves you with. They keep flowing. They lead you to new books, new thoughts. So, here's the thing. Sometimes, an answer isn't a final stop. It's like a river joining the sea. Its path seems to end, but its water becomes part of a much bigger, ongoing movement. That's okay. It means that even when we find an answer, there's always more to explore, more to question, and more to understand. The journey of discovery doesn't really have a destination, just an ever-widening view. How kindness spreads, and where its true power lies. Have you ever wondered why a small act of kindness can feel so powerful? It's not just about one person helping another. It's about how that single moment can spread out, like ripples in a pond after a stone is dropped. This idea of kindness moving outwards is something people have thought about for a very long time. Thinkers from ancient Greece to wise teachers in the East weren't just being nice when they talked about kindness. They believed it was a strong force that ties us all together. They saw it as more than just a good deed. They saw it as the glue of human connection. Here's how it works in daily life. Imagine someone holds a door open for you when your hands are full. You feel a tiny bit lighter, a tiny bit seen. That simple gesture might make you feel good enough to pass it on. Maybe later, you offer a genuine smile to someone looking sad, or help a friend understand a tricky math problem. This isn't just a random act. It's a chain reaction. Science even has a say here. When we see someone being kind, our brains often respond in a cool way. We might get a little boost of feel-good chemicals, making us feel more positive. This feeling can actually make us want to do something kind ourselves. It's almost like kindness is catching, but in the very best way possible. It shows us that one small spark can light up many others. So, where does the real power of kindness come from? It's not always in big, showy moments. Its true strength lies in its quiet, steady spread. It builds a kind of invisible network, a safety net made from countless small acts, woven together. It reminds us that we are connected, one to another, and that's why it matters. Because kindness, in its gentle way, helps make our big, busy world feel a little smaller, a little safer, and a lot more human. The final piece of art. But what was the artist thinking? Have you ever stood before a painting, or listened to a song, and found yourself wondering, what was going on in the artist's mind when they made this? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? We see the colors, we hear the notes, it's all there, finished, but something deeper tugs at us. We want to know the quiet thoughts, the sudden sparks that led to that exact creation. Here's the thing, art isn't just what we see or hear. It's a doorway into a different time, a different feeling. For thousands of years, humans have made drawings on cave walls, carvings, songs, and for just as long, we've looked at them and asked, why? We try to imagine the person, their life, their world. It's like finding a message in a bottle from long ago, trying to guess its journey and the hand that wrote it. Think about a drawing you might do in your notebook when you're feeling a certain way. Maybe you sketch a swirling storm, or a peaceful sun. Someone else sees the storm, or the sun, but they won't know you drew it because you felt confused that day, or dreamed of summer. The drawing is the art, and you are the artist. The true meaning, the deep reason for creating it, often stays with you, hidden beneath the surface. Sometimes, even the artist doesn't fully understand it. Feelings just flow out, you know. So, when we look at art and ask what the artist was thinking, we're doing something very human. We're reaching for connection across time. We're recognizing that every finished piece has a heart, a story, a silent conversation within it. And maybe the beauty isn't just in finding an answer, but in letting that question linger, in letting the art keep its gentle mystery, a quiet invitation to feel and wonder. It teaches us to look closer, to feel deeper, and to appreciate the unseen journeys that make things real. We understood the past, yet the present felt confusing. How can we know so much about ancient times, how societies rose and fell, the mistakes people made centuries ago, and still feel so lost right now? It's like having a detailed map of yesterday's journey, but today's path is covered in a thick, surprising fog. We study history, don't we? We learn about kings, wars, and big ideas from long ago. We often see clear patterns, how things connected, why events happened. It feels like we truly get it. We understand, for example, why the Roman Empire changed, or how new machines in the Industrial Revolution changed life. But then, we look at our own world, with its fast changes and brand new problems. Suddenly, that clear understanding from history seems blurry. Think about what humans have always done. We look backward to learn. Wise thinkers, from ancient philosophers to modern writers, tried to find universal truths by studying what came before. They believed if you understood enough of the past, you could almost predict the future. They sought wisdom in repeated patterns. But here's the thing. History might rhyme, but it never repeats itself exactly. New technologies, new ways of connecting, people, new global challenges, they all add surprising twists. Imagine you've aced a test on how a bicycle works. You know every gear and pedal, you understand the physics. So, you should be able to ride it perfectly, right? But then you step outside, and it's a brand new, super fast, electric bike, on a busy, chaotic street you've never seen. Your deep knowledge of the old bike helps. It gives you a foundation, but it doesn't give you all the answers for this exact moment. The present has its own unique speed, its own unexpected turns. So, knowing the past gives us a kind of light, a valuable wisdom. It teaches us much about human nature, about courage and common mistakes. But it doesn't always light up the very next step perfectly. The present asks completely different questions, ones we figure out for ourselves. With open minds and clear eyes, it's okay to feel a little unsure, even with all our history books. That's just part of being human, always learning, always wondering. The code was cracked, and then new mysteries emerged. Have you ever worked hard to solve a tricky problem, like a complex riddle? And then, once you found the answer, did a new, even bigger question bloom in your mind? That's often how discovery goes. We journey through darkness, find a light, and suddenly see the vast, unexplored landscape beyond. It's like when scientists figured out the structure of DNA, that tiny blueprint for all life. People wondered for centuries how traits passed down. When the double helix was found, it felt like the ultimate answer. A true, hidden code had been cracked. But here's the thing. Understanding DNA's shape didn't end the questions. Instead, it opened huge, new mysteries. How does this code build a person? What makes each cell unique? How do diseases connect to these tiny letters? It wasn't an ending. It was a beginning for endless inquiry. Think about it this way. Imagine you're playing a new video game. At first, you're just figuring out the basic controls, how to move, how to jump, how to use your first special move. You practice, and eventually, you crack the code of how the game works simply. You feel a sense of achievement, but then, as you play more, you uncover hidden paths, secret levels, or complex strategies you never imagined. The game reveals deeper layers. Your first solution just led you to a much bigger, more intricate world. Every answer pointed to a new, deeper question, and that's why this idea matters in our own lives. Understanding isn't a straight line with a finish line. When we gain knowledge, we don't just close the book. Instead, we open a new, more mysterious chapter, full of exciting, unexplored ideas. It quietly shows us that true wisdom isn't about knowing everything. It's about understanding how much more there will always be to learn. The world will forever surprise us, gently inviting us to wonder more, to ask more. It's a beautiful, endless journey of seeking, finding, and growing. The answer felt true. Then it started to unravel. Have you ever felt a sudden rush, like you just knew something was the answer? It feels right, doesn't it? A question hangs there, then boom, a perfect response lands. It's solid. You believe it. For a while, that certainty feels like a warm blanket. But what if that perfect answer starts to shift? Maybe a tiny doubt, a small whisper, begins in your mind. It's like pulling a thread on a sweater. One small pull, and soon, the fabric comes apart, unraveling slowly. The answer you thought was strong begins to fray, piece by piece, until it looks completely different. Think about people long ago. For centuries, most believed the earth was flat. It made sense. You looked out, it seemed flat. That was their answer. It felt true for a long time, but brave explorers sailed further. Thinkers like Galileo looked at the stars with new tools. They saw curves that didn't fit the flat earth idea. The old truth started to unravel. It wasn't completely wrong, just incomplete. Their answer couldn't hold up to new questions. It's like solving a puzzle. You find a piece and think, this is it? It fits perfectly here. You push it in, but then you get more pieces, and suddenly, that perfect piece doesn't quite line up. You realize it only looked like it fit, but it actually belongs somewhere else. That initial fit unravels, and that's okay. It might feel strange, even unsettling, when an answer you trusted phrase. But here's the thing, it means you're seeing more, you're looking deeper. It's not about being wrong, but about growing. Understanding isn't a finished book. It's an ongoing story, always asking for new chapters. We built the perfect thing, but did we need it? Have you ever looked at something truly amazing, something built with such skill, and found yourself asking a quiet question? Not how did they do that, but instead, why did they do that? This is a deep thought about the choices we make. Sometimes, we get so good at building, at designing, at making things work, that we forget to ask if the thing itself is actually needed. We can create something incredibly complex, something flawless in its engineering, but then the quiet question remains, what problem did it truly solve? Or was it just built because we could? Think about some of the world's most impressive structures. Like certain ancient monuments, people built them with astounding effort. They weren't always for daily life, or for a clear practical need, like getting water. Many were built to show power, or belief, or simply to prove what was possible. It's like when you invent a super complicated way to open a door, but the simple doorknob worked perfectly fine. We push the edge of what's possible, which is good, but sometimes we don't pause long enough to think about what's truly useful or kind. Imagine you spent weeks, maybe months, creating the most amazing, multifunctional backpack. It has a built-in solar charger, a water filter, a tiny projector, and even a miniature kitchen. It's perfect, a marvel of design. But here's the thing, you only ever use it to carry your books to school. A simple backpack would have done the job, and probably felt lighter too. We created the perfect thing, but for your daily need, it was maybe too much. It solved problems you didn't have, or added features you'd never use. This isn't about saying creation is bad. It's about a deeper kind of wisdom. It's about feeling into the purpose behind our efforts. Are we building because it brings real help, real connection, or genuine ease to someone? Or are we sometimes just building because it feels exciting to push limits, to show off what we're capable of? The truest perfect thing might not be the most complicated one. It might be the one that meets a quiet need, simply and thoughtfully, and leaves less question behind. How courage sparks, and why it sometimes fades. Have you ever wondered where courage comes from? That sudden brave feeling that pushes you forward. It's not about never being afraid. In fact, it's the opposite. Courage is that quiet, deep breath you take, the one that lets you step forward even when your heart is pounding. It's a spark inside us, born from knowing something needs to be done, or said, or faced. Even if it feels huge, think about people throughout history who stood up for what was right. They weren't fearless. They were just regular people who chose to act despite their fear. It's like when you see a small animal in trouble, and without thinking, you step in to help. That's a flash of courage. Or consider trying out for a school play, knowing everyone will watch. Your stomach might knot up, but something inside you says, go on, try. That's the spark. It's your brain and heart saying, this matters more than being scared right now. But here's the thing about that spark. It doesn't always stay lit. Sometimes, after a big moment, or even in the middle of a long struggle, courage can dim. It might feel like the fire inside is running low on fuel. Why does this happen? Fear is a powerful thing. It can creep back in, whispering doubts. We can get tired, emotionally worn out, or simply overwhelmed by how big a challenge still feels. Just like a fire needs wood to keep burning, our courage needs belief, rest, and sometimes a little help from others. It reminds us that courage isn't a finish line, but a winding path. It's about finding that spark again, even if it's just a tiny flicker, and letting it guide you through the next moment. The last memory shared, and new stories began to form. Have you ever stopped to wonder how a story changes just a little each time it's told? Or how remembering something from long ago feels richer now than it did back then? Here's the thing, our memories aren't fixed. They aren't like perfect recordings stored away, never to change. Instead, they are more like living things, constantly shifting and growing, and connecting to new experiences. Even when we think they're set in stone, ancient thinkers, like the Greek philosopher Heraclitus, understood this idea of constant movement and change. He believed that everything was always in flux. He said you can't step into the same river twice, because new water is always flowing, and you, the person stepping, are also different. Our memories, they are a bit like that river. The moment we recall something, or share it with someone else, it becomes part of a new moment, a new context. That old memory, while it still lives within us, also sparks something fresh. It's like the last time you saw an old friend. That meeting itself becomes a memory, but it also sparks new plans, new adventures, new inside jokes you'll share. Think about a time you shared a funny story from your childhood with a friend. Maybe your friend added a detail you'd forgotten, or their loud laughter made you suddenly see the whole moment in a new, funnier way. The original memory is still there, yes, but now it's layered with this new shared experience. It's been retold, refelt, given new life. This process is how human understanding grows. One question answered often brings up 10 more. The last memory that completed thought or understanding isn't a final stop. Instead, it's a launching pad. It's where fresh thoughts begin to gather, where new ideas take shape. It's how we move forward, always building on what came before, but never truly stuck in the past. So, the end of one memory isn't an ending at all. It's just the very first, hopeful word of a brand new story waiting to be told. We knew the facts, but the feelings changed everything. Have you ever learned something new, a solid fact, and then later, something happened that made that same fact feel totally different? It's like your brain knew the numbers, but your heart felt a whole new story. This happens more often than we think. We collect information, piece by piece, building up what we believe is true. But here's the thing, truth isn't just about what's proven. It's also about what resonates deep inside us. Think about it this way. For a long time, people knew the sun revolved around the earth. The facts seemed to fit their daily observations. The sun rose, moved across the sky, and set. It looked like everything spun around us. But then, people like Nicolaus Copernicus and Galileo Galilei came along. They gathered new facts, new observations, and saw that the earth was actually moving around the sun. That was a big change in facts. But for many, the feeling of being at the center of everything was comforting, familiar. Giving that up felt strange, even scary for some. It wasn't just a new fact, it was a new way of seeing their place in the universe. Their feelings about human importance, about the world they lived in, were deeply shaken, even with the new evidence. Here's an example from your own life. Maybe you learn about a historical event, like a war or a protest. You get the dates, the names, the outcomes. Those are the facts. You can pass a test on them. But then, you read a diary from someone who lived through it, or you see a photograph that captures a single, raw moment of fear or hope. Suddenly, those facts aren't just dry information. You feel a pang in your chest. You imagine what it must have been like to live through that. The dates and names are still true, but your understanding of them has opened up. The feelings add a layer of human truth that the facts alone couldn't reach. So, while facts give us the framework, feelings give us the depth. They turn a blueprint into a home, a string of events into a living memory. Knowing a fact is one thing, truly feeling its meaning is another. And sometimes, that feeling can reveal a deeper truth than any pure fact ever could. It makes the world richer, more complicated, and more beautiful. The ancient message decoded, and a new language appeared. Have you ever wondered how we hear whispers from a world long gone, or understand thoughts written by hands turned to dust? Sometimes, understanding something truly ancient, something hidden, isn't just about figuring out what it says. It's like decoding a secret message, only to find the message itself is a new way of seeing, a whole new language. This new language isn't just words, it's a deeper understanding of the world, a new set of ideas. Don't think about those incredible, ancient civilizations, like the Egyptians. For centuries, their hieroglyphs were just mysterious pictures. No one could read them. But then, smart people like Jean-Francois Champollion finally figured out the code. And suddenly, it wasn't just translating symbols. It was like opening a window straight into their minds. We started to understand their beliefs, their daily lives, their dreams, even their fears. It wasn't just an answer to what they wrote, but a new understanding of how they thought about the world. It showed us a whole new way a complex society once functioned. Here's an example closer to us. Think about when scientists started to truly understand DNA. For a long time, it was just a complex chemical inside our cells. But then, they decoded its patterns, its double helix. And suddenly, they weren't just looking at chemicals anymore. They were seeing the very blueprint of life. They saw a language that tells us how we grow, why we look like our families, how all living things are connected. This discovery didn't end questions. It made us ask even deeper ones about genetics, health, and what it means to be alive. It opened up a new scientific language. So, when we finally decode an ancient message, or figure out something truly profound, it rarely gives us a final, neat answer. Instead, it often pushes us to the edge of an even greater mystery. It teaches us how to ask better questions, to look beyond the surface. It shows us that true understanding is a journey that never quite ends. Always moving, always growing, always inspiring more wonder. Why we choose certain paths, and what if we chose another? Have you ever paused and wondered why you are right here, right now? Not just physically, but because of all the little choices you've made. Every day, every hour, we stand at tiny crossroads. We pick one way, and another path stays unchosen, leading into a quiet what if. This isn't just about big life decisions, but simple ones too. Which friend did you sit with at lunch? Which book did you grab from the library? Each small pick guides us down a certain road. For thousands of years, people have thought about this. Ancient thinkers and poets wondered about destiny versus free will. Is our path set, or do we truly craft it with each step? Most agree we have a say. That feeling of choosing, that flicker of possibility, that's your power. It's like when you're building something with Legos. You pick a brick, place it, and that changes what you build next. You could have used a different colored brick, right, and the whole structure would look different. Say you started playing guitar. You decided to spend your free time practicing chords and melodies. That choice meant you weren't learning to code, or joining a debate club. The guitar path opened up new songs, new friends who also play, maybe even a band someday. The other paths remain unwalked. We can look back and wonder about those unchosen roads. What if I had learned coding instead? Would I be building apps now? Here's the thing, every path we take teaches us something unique. The paths we don't take remind us of possibilities. It's a quiet wonder, knowing our present is a tapestry woven from countless small decisions. It shows our lives aren't just happening to us. They are shaped by our hands, minds, and hearts, moment by puzzling moment. And that is pretty amazing to think about. The final note played, and the melody echoed on. Have you ever found an answer that felt like the end of a long journey, only to realize it was just the beginning of another? It's a strange feeling, like reaching the top of a hill and seeing an even bigger mountain stretching out before you. Here's the thing, sometimes an answer isn't a final stop. Instead, it's a new question hiding in plain sight. Think about how humans have always searched for understanding. Long ago, people looked up at the night sky and wondered about the stars. They might have thought the stars were tiny lights stuck to a giant bowl. That was an answer, simple and comforting. But then, people started building telescopes. They saw more, much more. The answer of tiny lights became a question. What are these huge burning balls of gas, so incredibly far away? And that question led to studies of galaxies, black holes, and the edge of the universe. Each discovery, each new piece of knowledge, didn't just solve a puzzle. It showed us how much more of the puzzle was still missing. It's a bit like learning to play a song on an instrument. You practice and practice until you can play every note perfectly. That's an answer, right? You've learned the song. But then, you start to wonder, can I play it faster? Can I make it sound sadder or happier? Can I write my own song now? The skill you gained doesn't just end there. It opens up all these new possibilities, all these new ways to explore and create. So maybe the real point isn't to collect every single answer. Maybe it's about learning to love the journey of asking. It's about letting the echo of one answer lead you to the next question, feeling the wonder of not knowing everything. Because in that echo, in that endless search, we truly come alive. We stay curious, always. We found the treasure, but what was the real prize? Have you ever worked super hard for something, imagined finally getting it, and then felt a little empty when you did? Maybe you got the perfect score on a test, or won a big game, but a quiet part of you wondered, is this all there is? That's the feeling this question explores. It's about how what we chase might not be the real reward at all. Often, the real prize isn't the thing itself. It's what happens inside us while we're reaching for it. It's the journey itself that changes us. Think about the old stories, the myths where heroes went on long, dangerous journeys to find a magical artifact or a pile of gold. When they finally found the treasure, the story often wasn't just about them counting their coins. Instead, it was about how the journey had shaped them. They faced fears, learned about themselves, made friends, or understood the world in a whole new way. The treasure was just a symbol. The true prize was the wisdom, the courage, or the deep connections they gained. Imagine you're learning to play a musical instrument, like the guitar. Your treasure might be perfectly playing your favorite song in front of an audience. You practiced for months, your fingers ache, you mess up 1,000 times. Finally, the day comes. You play the song flawlessly, and everyone claps. That's a great feeling, right? But what was the real prize? Was it just the applause? Or was it the patience you learned? The dedication you found deep within yourself? The way your brain connected with the music? The simple discipline of showing up every day? The quiet strength of pushing past frustration? So, next time you're striving for something, take a moment. When you finally reach that goal, stop and ask yourself, what did this journey truly teach me? What new part of myself did I discover? What wisdom did I gather along the way? Because sometimes, the most valuable things aren't shiny and golden. They are the quiet changes that make us grow. They are the invisible treasures we carry inside, forever changing who we are. How thoughts become words, and what gets lost in between. Have you ever had a thought, a feeling, or even a picture in your mind so clear, so real, and then tried to explain it to someone? And when you did, it just changed. It's like something shifts when your inner world tries to meet the outer world through words. Our thoughts are boundless, swirling and alive, full of color and whispers. But then we try to funnel them through the small opening of language. Here's the thing, language is amazing. It lets us share ideas, tell stories, and connect across time and space. But words are also like containers. They have a shape and a size, and sometimes what's inside our heads is too big, too complex, or too delicate to fit perfectly into those containers. Thinkers throughout history, from ancient Greece to modern times, have wondered about this. They asked, can words truly capture reality? Can they hold the whole truth of what we think or feel? Many believed, no, not entirely. They saw that something always slips away. Imagine you're trying to describe a dream you had. In your dream, a house might feel both welcoming and strange, old but also new, all at once. When you tell your friend, you have to pick. It was an old house, or it was a strange house. You can't quite get across that swirling mix of feelings with just a few words. The full, blurry, wonderful weirdness of the dream gets flattened. A bit. It's like trying to scoop up ocean water with a small bucket. You get some, but the vastness of the ocean stays behind. So, when we speak, we're not just sharing words. We're offering a glimpse, a careful selection, a translation of our inner universe. And that's okay. Knowing that something might be lost doesn't make the words less valuable. Instead, it reminds us to listen deeper, to look beyond just the spoken words, and to understand that beneath every sentence lies a richer world of thought and feeling that we all carry. The problem was solved, but the feeling stayed unfinished. Have you ever fixed something big, like a mistake or a problem, and then felt strange? Not just relief or happiness, but a quiet, unfinished feeling. The issue is gone. The solution worked, but something inside still feels a little bent, a little out of place. This is a really human thing. People have felt this way for a very long time. Thinkers from ancient times wondered about it. They saw that even when a wound healed, a scar remained. The mark stayed. It's like our emotions carry a memory, a ghost of what was, even after things are calm. The problem might be a loud storm, but the feeling left behind is a soft, steady drizzle dot. It's about how feelings are more complex than just on or off. Imagine you broke your favorite ceramic art project that took weeks to make. You carefully glued it back together. It looks almost perfect now. No one would know it was ever shattered. The project is fixed, but every time you glance at it, you might still remember the sickening sound of it hitting the floor. You might remember the sudden fear, the moment your hard work was ruined. That feeling, that memory, stays. It's not a bad feeling, but it's there. It's a quiet whisper of what happened. This lingering feeling reminds us that life isn't always neat. Not every puzzle piece snaps perfectly into place, even with the right solution. Maybe these unfinished feelings teach us something important. They tell us some things change us forever, even if we recover. They show us our hearts hold on to experiences, shaping who we are, even after the hard parts are over. And perhaps, That's okay. It means we learn and grow, even from quiet echoes of solved problems. We saw the end of the line, and then a new track appeared. Have you ever felt like you knew everything about something, only to realize you knew almost nothing? It's a strange feeling, like you've reached the last page of a book, but then you flip it and find a new story. That's what happens sometimes when we find an answer. We think we've reached the end of the journey, the final destination, but often that answer isn't a dead end. It's a new starting point. It's like standing at the very edge of a forest you thought was small, and then seeing mountains beyond it. Think about scientists for a moment. For a long time, people thought atoms were the smallest things that existed. They seemed like the ultimate answer to what everything was made of. They found the atom, and it felt like the end of the line for tiny particles. But then, smart people kept asking questions and looking closer. And what did they find? Even smaller parts inside the atom: protons, neutrons, and electrons. And then, they looked inside those too, finding quarks and other strange particles. Each discovery, each answer, didn't shut down the questions. It actually opened up a whole new universe of them. The end of one track simply revealed a new one, spiraling upwards. It's a little like when you finally solve a really tough puzzle. You click the last piece into place, and you feel that rush of accomplishment. But then, as you look at the finished picture, you start wondering, where did these colors come from? Who designed this? What other puzzles are out there? The solution itself becomes the question for the next adventure. This feeling isn't a problem, it's a gift. It means that the world is bigger and more amazing than we first thought. There's always more to learn, more to explore, more wonders hiding just around the corner. So, when an answer appears, don't just see it as an end. See it as a signpost, pointing you towards an exciting new path you never even knew existed. And that's why the journey of asking might be the most important part. The old belief changed, but new questions still lingered. Have you ever learned something that completely flipped what you thought was true? It's like finding a new piece of a puzzle, and suddenly the whole picture shifts. For a moment, you feel smart, like you finally get it. But then, a quiet thought whispers, if that was wrong, what else is different, and what comes next? Here's the thing, sometimes, an answer isn't an ending. It's a new beginning for even deeper questions. Think about how people used to see our place in the universe. For a long, long time, almost everyone believed the Earth was the center of everything. The sun, the stars, all of it, just spun round us. That was their answer. It made sense to them, looking up at the sky. But then, people like Nicolaus, Copernicus, and Galileo Galilei looked closer. They gathered evidence, they did the math, and the old belief changed. They discovered that the Earth actually goes around the sun. That was a huge answer, a truly mind-bending shift. But here's what happened next. If the Earth isn't the center, then what is? How big is this universe really? Are there other suns? Other planets? The answer about the sun led to endless new questions about space, gravity, and our tiny spot. In it all, it's a bit like when you learn to ride a bike without training wheels. The answer, I can balance, is amazing. But then you start wondering, how fast can I go? Where can I ride? Can I do tricks? The answer opens up a whole new world of possibilities and new challenges to explore, and that's why it matters. Life isn't always about finding a single, final answer. Often, the real magic is in the journey of asking, of letting one discovery lead you to the next mystery. It means being comfortable with not knowing everything, and instead, being curious about what else might be out there, just waiting to be wondered about. It's a quiet, beautiful kind of growth. Why we strive for more, and what enough really means. Have you ever paused to wonder why we always seem to want just a little bit more? It's a strange thing, this human pull, isn't it? We get something we wished for, and soon a new desire bubbles up. It's like enough is a whisper that keeps changing its mind, always just out of reach. Philosophers and thinkers for thousands of years have wrestled with this. They noticed that once our basic needs, like food, shelter, and safety are met, we don't just stop. We look for purpose, for beauty, for connection. An ancient Greek thinker named Aristotle talked about flourishing, not just surviving. He meant humans are wired to grow, to improve, to seek meaning beyond just having things. It's a part of our nature to explore, to learn, to create, and to understand. Think about playing your favorite video game. You finally beat a really tough level. You feel great, right? You accomplished something. But then, what's next? You look forward to the boss fight, or the next world, or finding hidden secrets. That first feeling of enough quickly becomes a new, not quite enough, as you eye the next challenge, or think about a young tree. It has water and light, but it doesn't stop. It keeps reaching for more sun, its roots stretching deeper, always growing, always striving to be more of what it can be. So, maybe enough isn't a destination we arrive at, like finding a treasure chest. Maybe it's more about finding peace. In the journey itself, it's understanding that our wanting isn't wrong, but maybe our idea of what will truly satisfy us needs to shift. Perhaps true enough is less about what we gather, and more about how deeply we connect, how fully we learn, and how kindly we live in this moment. It's finding a quiet contentment, not in having it all, but in truly experiencing what we have, and being okay with the ongoing quest. The last page ripped, and a whole new book unfolded. Have you ever finished something, truly finished it, only to find yourself right at the start of something else? This feeling is like when the last page of a story tears away, not to end the journey, but to reveal a whole new story waiting. We often think an answer is a period, but sometimes an answer is more like a comma, pushing us toward a bigger question. It's about realizing how much more there is to learn, even after a discovery. Think about early scientists. For ages, people believed the Earth was flat. That was their answer. But then, thinkers questioned it, using new observations. When they realized the Earth was round, that wasn't the end. Instead, it opened countless new questions about space, gravity, and other planets. That answer about Earth's shape ripped the page, unfolding a universe of new questions. It showed them every answer is a doorway. Imagine building a big Lego castle. You snap the last brick, feeling that rush of victory. That's your answer. But then, looking at your finished castle, you wonder, what if I added a drawbridge, or built a whole village around it? The completed castle doesn't end your creativity, it sparks a new idea. It's not the end, but the foundation for what comes next. So, maybe the point isn't to find all the answers and stop. Maybe it's understanding that every discovery, every bit of knowledge, is a step onto a new path. It's okay not to have all the answers. It means there's always more to explore, more to wonder about, more new pages. This journey of questioning is where real growth happens. We knew the what, but the why kept getting bigger. Have you ever learned something new, and it felt like a door opening? You understood what was happening, maybe how a machine worked, or what caused a historical event. But then, almost immediately, a bigger question would whisper in your mind. Why? Why was that machine invented? Why did people make those choices back then, leading to such big changes? Here's the thing. Knowing the what is about facts, about describing things. It's like seeing the surface of a deep ocean. You know it's water, vast and blue. But knowing the why means truly diving beneath that surface. It asks about purpose, about meaning, about the hidden currents that drive everything. For thousands of years, humans have been obsessed with this why. Ancient Greek thinkers, for example, didn't just notice the sun moved across the sky. They wondered why it did, searching for its grand purpose and its vital role in the universe. They had the what, the sun rises and sets, but the why was the truly captivating, endless puzzle. Think about something simple, like why we listen to music. We know what music is, sounds put together in clever patterns, with rhythm and melody. We understand how sound waves reach our ears. But the why is much deeper, isn't it? Why does a sad song make us feel understood and less alone? Why does a joyful song make us want to dance or lift our spirits? It's not just about sound waves. It's about connection, memory, raw emotion. It's about something that speaks directly to our inner selves, even if we can't touch it or see it. And that's why some answers, the ones that explain the what, can sometimes make the why feel even larger and more mysterious. It's like finding a single, beautiful shell on the beach. You know it's a shell. But then you look out at the endless ocean, and you start to wonder about the creature that once lived inside, the powerful tides that carried it, the vast, unknown world that came from. The what gives us a clear starting point, but the why invites us into the grand, beautiful, ongoing mystery of everything. It's in those deeper questions that our natural curiosity truly finds its most exciting home. How trust is built, and why it sometimes breaks. Have you ever stopped to think about trust? It's a quiet, powerful thing. We often don't notice it until it's gone. But how does it even get there? And why, sometimes, does it shatter? Here's the thing. Trust isn't given all at once. It's built slowly, moment by moment. Each time someone keeps a promise, shows up when they say, or is honest, that's another brick laid. Think of it like a strong building. Every truthful word, every kind act, every time you prove reliable, adds to its foundation. Even ancient thinkers understood this. They knew for people to live and build together, dependability was key. It was a kind of glue, holding groups together. Imagine trust like a delicate plant. You don't just plant a seed and get a tree. No, you water it consistently. You make sure it gets sunlight. You protect it. This consistent care, this daily effort, is how trust grows. It needs honesty like water, reliability like sunlight. When someone is dishonest or lets you down, it's like forgetting to water that plant. It starts to wilt. When they break a big promise or lie, it's like a harsh frost hits. It might not recover. That's why trust breaks. It's often many small letdowns or one big betrayal that breaks what was carefully built. When trust is broken, it leaves a big hole. It leaves us wondering about what we thought was true. But here's what I found. Even when trust breaks, it teaches us something. It shows us what we value. Understanding how it's built and how it can fall apart can help us be more careful. This is true both in giving our trust and in earning it from others. It's a constant journey, full of growth and learning. The final curtain fell, but the show wasn't over. Have you ever finished a good book or video game, but felt the story kept going in your head, even after the last page or credits rolled? Life sometimes works like that too. We find an answer, a solution, and for a moment, it feels like the very end. The curtain falls, but then, new questions quietly bubble up. This isn't bad. In fact, it's one of the most beautiful parts of being human. Think about scientists from long ago, like Isaac Newton. He figured out why apples fall gravity. That was a huge answer, explaining so much. But later, brilliant minds like Albert Einstein asked even deeper questions about gravity. They wondered how it could bend space, how it worked at superspeeds. Newton's answer wasn't the end. It was like a new door opening to a bigger house of questions. Every big answer just lights a new path of things we still don't know. Or think about learning an instrument, like a guitar. At first, just playing one song feels like a huge victory. You've got the answer, how to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. But then you wonder, how can I play it faster? How can I add my own style? What about other songs? Each small answer opens a whole world of new things to learn. That first answer wasn't the final note, but the first chord in a much longer, more complex song. And here's the thing about answers that raise more questions. They don't mean we failed. They mean we're growing. Our understanding isn't a finished painting. Instead, it's a sketch that keeps gaining detail, more color, more depth. It's a quiet invitation to keep looking, to keep wondering. Life is a story where the final curtain never truly falls, and that's okay. Because the show of discovery, of learning, of just being curious, never has to end. We understood the map, but the journey wasn't straight. Have you ever known exactly what you should do, but the path felt anything but clear? It's like having a perfect map, every road marked. You know your destination, but then you start walking, and something unexpected appears. A river, a sudden hill. This happens often in life. We think we have answers. Maybe we learned a lot in school, or from books. We feel we've got the whole picture. But knowing the what doesn't always show you the how. Sometimes, the more we learn, the more we realize how many questions still hide. Think about ancient thinkers. Philosophers long ago tried to figure out the world. They came up with big ideas, answers that shaped thought. These answers felt complete, but new discoveries happened. New questions popped up. They often twisted the path entirely. Things weren't as simple as they seemed. Here's an example. Imagine learning a new song on a guitar. You have the sheet music. It shows every note, every chord. The map is perfect. You know where your fingers go, what sound to make. But when you pick up the guitar, your fingers fumble. Chords buzz. It's hard. The journey from map to playing smoothly is full of mistakes and struggles. The map didn't show the sore fingertips, and that's okay. Life rarely follows a perfect map. Real learning happens in those twists and turns. Even with answers, the journey itself is a teacher. It's not just about having all the answers. It's about being ready for unexpected questions. It's about finding our way, even when the map stops making sense. The first step was taken, but where does the path truly lead? Have you ever found the perfect answer to a big question, only to feel like you'd just opened a door to 100 more? It's a strange feeling, isn't it? Like you've climbed a tall mountain, expecting to see the end of your journey, but instead, you see endless peaks stretching out before you. This is the curious nature of knowledge. Sometimes, an answer isn't a destination. It's more like a signpost pointing to even deeper, more interesting mysteries. Don't think about the great minds throughout history, from ancient Greek philosophers gazing at the stars to modern scientists peering into the smallest particles. They sought answers, of course, but every answer they uncovered, every new piece of understanding, often revealed how much more there was left to learn. Like when early astronomers figured out that Earth orbits the Sun. That was a huge, amazing answer. But then, suddenly, there were new questions. What about other planets? How does gravity actually work? How vast is space beyond our solar system? See how one big truth opened up an entire universe of new questions. It's like when you solve a challenging riddle, and the solution isn't the end, but the start of a whole new set of wait, but why? Questions. So, here's the thing. Maybe the path truly leads not to a single, final answer, but to a continuous journey of asking, and that's okay. In fact, that's beautiful. To ask questions means we're growing, we're exploring, we're understanding that the world is far more wonder-filled and complex than we could ever imagine. Embrace the not knowing, because it's in the asking, not just the answering, that we truly discover why we feel a connection and what it's really made of. Have you ever sat with someone, maybe a friend, or even a family member, and just felt completely understood? Like they saw you, really saw you, beyond the words you were saying. That quiet feeling, that sense of belonging, is what we call connection. It's more than just being in the same room. It's a bridge built between hearts, invisible but so strong. For a long, long time, people have thought about this. Ancient thinkers, like a Greek philosopher named Aristotle, talked about how humans are naturally social. He believed that connecting with others, especially through deep friendships, was super important for a happy life. It's like we're all wired, from way back, to seek out these bonds. We need them, almost like we need air or food. It's a core part of who we are. So, what's this amazing bridge really made of? It's not built from big, grand gestures. Instead, it's woven from small, quiet moments. It's a shared laugh over something silly. It's listening, really listening, when someone talks about their day. It's those times when you can just feel what another person is going through, even if they don't say much. We call that empathy. Think of it like this: a single thread might be easy to break, but when you weave many threads together, you get a strong, warm blanket. Our connections are like that blanket. Each thread is a tiny act of kindness, a moment of understanding, a shared secret. Here's the thing: this connection isn't just nice to have, it's vital. It makes us feel safe. It makes us feel seen, and that's why it matters so much. It reminds us that even in a huge world, we're never truly alone. It's the quiet power that binds us, making life richer, more meaningful, and just a little bit brighter. It's the echo of our shared humanity. The mystery solved, but the wonder stayed alive. Have you ever found the answer to something, only to feel even more amazed than before? Sometimes, solving a puzzle doesn't make the world smaller, it makes it bigger. It's like pulling back a curtain to find a whole new, more beautiful stage behind the one you saw. The answer doesn't close a door. It opens many more. Think about the moon, shining in our night sky. For a very long time, people just saw a glowing circle. They wondered about its mysteries. What was it made of? How did it get there? Ancient thinkers, like Aristotle, believed it was a perfect, unmoving sphere, made of a special, pure substance. That was their answer for centuries. But then, the telescope was invented. People saw craters and mountains on the moon's surface. It wasn't perfect. Later, we learned about gravity and how planets and moons form from swirling dust and gas. We finally understood how the moon formed and why it moves as it does. The mystery of what is it was, in many ways, solved. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine watching an incredible magic trick. You're puzzled, trying to figure it out. Then, someone tells you the secret. Maybe it's a hidden pocket or a clever mirror. For a moment, you might think, oh, that's it, it's just a trick. But then, you consider the practice, the skill, the precise timing, the mystery of how did they do it, is solved. But the wonder shifts. It transforms into appreciation for human cleverness and the art of illusion. The trick isn't magic anymore, but the wonder of human ability grows deeper. It's like that with many big questions. When we discover how a distant star burns, we don't just see a fiery ball of gas. We see a cosmic furnace, creating the elements that make up our world, a story unfolding over billions of years. The answer doesn't end the wonder. Instead, it changes it, making it richer and more profound. It transforms simple curiosity into a quiet, lasting awe for the vast, intricate, and beautiful design of everything around us. Even when we understand, there's always more to admire, more to feel amazed by. We learned the answer, and then we questioned the question. Have you ever gotten an answer to something, and instead of feeling completely settled, you felt a new kind of wonder, or even a different sort of puzzle? It's a strange thing, isn't it? Sometimes, when we finally understand something, that understanding doesn't just close a door. It actually opens up a window, letting in a whole new light on the question we started with. We look at the original question and realize it wasn't quite right, or maybe it was too small for what we now know. Think about the ancient thinkers, like those in old Greece. They would ask things like, what is the world made of? For a long time, a common answer might have been earth, air, fire, and water. That was an answer. But then, as people kept thinking and observing, that answer led to more questions. What is fire, really? What makes earth different from water? Suddenly, the answer about elements made them question the very idea of what a basic building block was. It pushed them to ask a deeper, more refined question. Here's an example from our own lives. Maybe you wonder, why is my little brother always so grumpy in the morning? You get an answer. He didn't sleep well. For a moment, that seems complete. But then, that answer makes you think differently about your first question. It wasn't just about his grumpiness, it was about his sleep. So, the new, deeper question becomes, what keeps him from sleeping well? The first answer wasn't wrong, but it pointed us towards a better, more useful question. This journey, from answer back to question, is a quiet, powerful dance. It shows us that true understanding isn't about collecting facts like treasures in a box. It's more like tending a garden. Each answer is a seed that, when planted, might grow into a new question. This process isn't about finding a final destination. It's about the beauty of always exploring, always seeking, always learning. To ask better questions, it means our minds are always growing, always reaching for something more. And that's a beautiful thing. How stories live on, and why some fade away. Have you ever stopped to wonder why some stories, like whispers from long ago, still echo in our minds, while others, even ones we just heard, simply vanish? It's a strange thing, isn't it? Like old songs, some stories stay stuck in our heads, played over and over through generations. Others drift off, lost to the quiet hum of time. Here's the thing about stories. They are living things. Almost, they breathe through us, through our memories and our voices. For thousands of years, people didn't write things down. They told stories around fires, under starry skies. They passed down tales of heroes and monsters, of love and loss, from one person to the next, like a fragile flame. The stories that survived, the ones we still know today, often held a deeper truth. They spoke about shared human feelings, bravery, fear, wonder. They gave comfort or meaning to the big questions in life. Think about it like this. Your mind is full of memories. Some are super clear, right? Maybe a day you laughed really hard, or a moment you felt truly understood. Those memories stick because they came with strong feelings. They had meaning. But then there are countless other moments, like what you ate for breakfast last Tuesday, that just disappear. There's no strong emotion, no deep meaning attached, so they fade. Stories work the same way. The ones with a beating heart, a strong feeling, a lesson that touches us. Those are the ones we hold on to. So, the stories that last, they aren't just words. They are containers for human spirit, for feelings, for questions, and even some answers. They live on because they matter to us. Somehow, they offer a quiet reflection of our own lives, and that's why they never truly leave us. They become a part of who we are, woven into the fabric of our shared humanity. The last piece clicked, and the whole picture shifted. Have you ever worked on a puzzle? convinced you knew the final image, only for one last piece to completely change everything. That's how understanding works. We gather many answers, feeling we have the whole picture, but then a single new idea, a tiny bit of information, slots into place. Suddenly, the entire scene rearranges. Old answers don't look the same. They become starting points for bigger questions. Think about the night sky. For ages, people believed Earth was the center. The sun and stars moved around us. That was their answer. It made sense. But then, thinkers like Copernicus and Galileo looked closer. They saw patterns. What if Earth moved around the sun? That small shift, that new understanding, turned the universe upside down. It didn't just give an answer. It opened countless questions about space and our place in it. It's like looking at a drawing that seems to be a rabbit, with ears and a fluffy tail. But then someone shows you how the rabbit's nose and mouth also form a duck's head. Once you see the duck, you can't unsee it. The drawing hasn't changed, but your understanding has shifted completely. This feeling, when a final piece clicks and everything changes, can be unsettling. But it's also amazing. It shows us learning is never truly finished. Every answer we find can be a doorway to new wonders, new mysteries. It reminds us to stay curious, to keep looking, because the world is always ready to surprise us with deeper truths. We found the beginning, but the end was nowhere near. Have you ever started something new, like a big project or learning a sport? That first step, that first moment, it feels like you can see the whole path. But here's the thing, finding the beginning doesn't always show you the end. Often, understanding how something started just leads to more questions about where it's headed. It's like finding the first page of a really long, important book. You know how it begins, but the rest of the story, and how it finishes, that's still a mystery. Think about explorers finding a small stream, the clear beginning of a river. They knew its start. To truly know the river, they had to follow it. They watched it widen, split, crash over waterfalls, or vanish into swamps. The beginning told them almost nothing about its long journey, or if it would even reach the sea. For centuries, people looked at the stars and knew they were there, a clear beginning of the night sky. But what were they made of? How far away would the universe ever end? Those questions stretched out forever. It's a bit like when you start middle school. That first day, you know where you are, you know your classes, your locker number. That's the beginning of a big new chapter. But do you know exactly who you'll be when you leave? Do you know every friend you'll make, every challenge you'll face? No, that future is unwritten. You've found the beginning, but the journey unfolds day by day, full of turns you can't predict. And that's okay. Maybe the beauty isn't in knowing the end. Maybe it's in the quiet wonder of the journey itself. It's about being brave enough to take that first step, knowing that the path ahead might surprise you, teach you things you never expected. The questions that follow the beginning, those are what keep us exploring, keep us learning. They remind us that life is always moving, always growing, always full of new horizons, even when the final destination isn't clear. Why we seek answers, and if we'll ever find them all. Have you ever wondered why we're always asking why? From the moment we're tiny, we point and question. Why is the sky blue? Why do birds fly? This deep need to know things, to understand the world around us and inside us, is just part of being human. It's like a quiet hum inside our minds, pushing us forward, always wanting to see what's next, what's hidden. For thousands of years, people have looked up at the stars, or watched the ocean waves, and asked big questions. Ancient thinkers, long before there were science labs, tried to figure out how the world worked. They wanted to know what made the sun rise, or why we dream. They built entire ways of thinking, just trying to make sense of the big, messy, beautiful puzzle of life. Here's the thing. Every answer they found often led to two new questions. It's like peeling an onion. There's always another layer beneath. Think about how you might feel when you're working on a complicated math problem, or trying to understand a new feeling. You want to figure it out, right? That little itch to solve, to connect the dots, that's it. Or consider a simple experiment, like dropping something. We learn about gravity, but then we ask, what is gravity? Why does it pull? So here's what happened. Scientists keep digging, learning more, but the fundamental why can still be a mystery. We learn how it works, but not always why it is. So, will we ever find all the answers? Probably not, and that's okay. Maybe the point isn't to get to a final stopping place where everything is known. Maybe the real beauty is in the journey itself, in the asking, in the wondering. It's in the quiet courage of facing what we don't know and still choosing to look closer. There's a peace in understanding that the universe is vast, and our minds are made for exploring it, one question at a time. It's a never-ending story, and we are all part of writing it. We saw the limits, and then they vanished. Have you ever felt like you've reached the very edge of what's possible? Like there's an invisible wall, and you just can't go past it? We all have moments like that. Maybe in a math problem that seems too hard, or a challenge that feels impossible to beat. But here's the thing about limits. Sometimes they're not as solid as they seem. Sometimes what we think is the very end of what we can do, or what humanity can achieve, simply fades away. Think back in time. For centuries, people honestly believed the earth was flat. It was a clear, unmoving limit. Sail too far, and you'd fall off the edge. That was their truth, a boundary nobody dared cross for a long time. But then, brave sailors pushed on. They didn't fall, they circled the globe. And just like that, a huge, ancient limit that shaped how people saw their entire world just vanished. The world became bigger, rounder, and full of new questions. Or consider something closer to home. When you first tried to ride a bike without training wheels, remember, it felt impossible. Your body wobbled, you fell. There was a firm limit. I can't balance. You might have even cried, thinking you'd never get it, but you kept trying. You pushed through, and one day, without even thinking, you were pedaling smoothly. The wind was in your hair. The limit, that feeling of I can't, simply disappeared. It wasn't really a limit at all, just a skill waiting to be learned. This idea pops up everywhere, even in science. People once thought we couldn't see anything smaller than what our eyes could show us. Then someone invented the microscope, and suddenly a whole universe of tiny cells and bacteria appeared, things no one knew existed. The limit of what we can see was pushed back, revealing so much more. So, what does this tell us? It means we should always be curious. It means that what feels impossible today might just be waiting for someone to try it a different way tomorrow. Our understanding of the world, and even of ourselves, is always growing. The most exciting answers are often found just beyond the limits we thought were unbreakable. And that's why it matters, because the world is always ready to surprise us if we're brave enough to look beyond the edge. The final breath taken, and the world kept turning. What happens when a story truly ends, or when someone's journey here is done? It's a strange thought, isn't it? We imagine a big event, like a life leaving us, would pause the whole world, but it doesn't. For thousands of years, people have watched the sun set and rise, no matter what. Great leaders, mighty kingdoms, even grand ideas, they all have their moment. But the earth keeps spinning. Think about the ancient pyramids. The pharaohs who built them are long gone. Yet the pyramids stand, and the wind still whispers around them, just as it always has. This shows us something deep. Even the biggest things eventually pass, but life itself, the world, it continues. It's a bit like when you finish a really good book. You might feel sad it's over, or changed by it, but your day doesn't stop. The birds outside your window still sing. Your next class still starts. Or think about a single leaf falling from a giant oak tree in autumn. That leaf had its life, vivid and green. It played its part. When it falls, the tree doesn't die. It prepares for winter, ready for new leaves next spring. The tree, the forest, the seasons, they all keep moving. This isn't about being small or unimportant. Instead, it's about being part of something vast and always unfolding. It helps us see that our lives, though precious and unique, are also connected to a much larger, ongoing rhythm. And that's why it matters, because even in our endings, there is a gentle reminder of life's unending flow, a quiet comfort that the world will keep turning, holding new beginnings within its endless cycle. The final breath taken, and the world kept turning. What happens when a story truly ends, or when someone's journey here is done? It's a strange thought, isn't it? We imagine a big event, like a life leaving us, would pause the whole world, but it doesn't. For thousands of years, people have watched the sun set and rise, no matter what. Great leaders, mighty kingdoms, even grand ideas, they all have their moment. But the earth keeps spinning. Think about the ancient pyramids. The pharaohs who built them are long gone. Yet the pyramids stand, and the wind still whispers around them, just as it always has. This shows us something deep. Even the biggest things eventually pass, but life itself, the world, it continues. It's a bit like when you finish a really good book. You might feel sad it's over or changed by it, but your day doesn't stop. The birds outside your window still sing. Your next class still starts. Or think about a single leaf falling from a giant oak tree in autumn. That leaf had its life, vivid and green. It played its part. When it falls, the tree doesn't die. It prepares for winter, ready for new leaves next spring. The tree, the forest, the seasons, they all keep moving. This isn't about being small or unimportant. Instead, it's about being part of something vast and always unfolding. It helps us see that our lives, though precious and unique, are also connected to a much larger, ongoing rhythm. And that's why it matters, because even in our endings, there is a gentle reminder of life's unending flow, a quiet comfort that the world will keep turning, holding new beginnings within its endless cycle.